Yeah, the bed was practically singing to me, baby, it's cold outside, because it is cold outside. Minus 4 degrees Celsius, and I almost drifted away in the sleep. Anyway, good evening, afternoon, or whatever part of the day it is in your part of the world, and today I've made an executive decision to move Vampire the Masquerade Reckoning of New York over to the Tuesday slot because it is, for all intents and purposes, a visual novel, even though it comes with light RPG mechanics. Let's call them that. As for what will occupy the Wednesday slot, well, that is going to be most likely Shadowrun Hong Kong. Yes, I promise we will come back to finish off the Shadowrun Dragonfall, but that is beyond my reach because the decision has been somewhat impulsive on my end. But we'll come back to it someday. I just hope we'll do it with a better game plan in mind. Let's put it that way. Let's see, the game software should be captured right about now. There. Unfortunately, Carmine is not joining us for tonight's session, otherwise he would have signaled me as much. Anyway. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? Which was Night 2, as the game helpfully reminds us. Why does it feel like I'm trying to make a raid happen? Maybe. Or maybe I just am prone to impulsive decisions that are not justified any other way. Anyway. Excuse me for that. Now then, let's continue. I'm not sure what I expected from an anarch outpost in one of the most densely populated cities in America. Maybe a sewer hideaway sitting right next to local rats. Maybe a few prohibitionary cellars linked by a web of secret corridors. Maybe even a chaotic squat in a dilapidated brownstone. But a grimy auto repair shop with a bold red sign proudly declaring it is Mato's place? That definitely wasn't on my list. Are you sure this is the spot? I can ask for directions or something? Ouch. The silent treatment. Patrick parks carefully, checking the side mirrors to see if he's aligned perfectly with the curb. Finally, with a satisfied nod, he turns the engine off. Let's go. And he gets out of the car just like that. I follow, of course, not because he told me to, but no. Hanging solo in a car at night gets real boring real fast. Even with Queen Dee-Doo-Dang in the background. Schedule change coupled with another VtM play in the previous game has me thinking. Well, if you're referring to Kanikulumi trying out Shadowrun Dragonfall, well, that's just a happy little coincidence. Honestly. Scout's honor, as they say. Mato, are you there? I fully expect company, but I still flinch when a huge, burly kindred steps out from the shadows, quieter than a mouse. His grime-covered arms are still all set to give Patrick, a bear hug. But he stops himself at the very last moment, either from plain common sense or because I'm there. I know, it tends to happen sometimes, because such are the quirks of my streaming setup, and this is happening yet again. They haven't bothered fixing it, unfortunately, so let me try to reduce the volume over here on the capturing software. Should be good enough, in theory. Let me know if it's any more bearable now. Unfortunately, there will be no compensation. Patty, looking good, my man. What can I do you for? Here to take a look at that old clunker of yours? Paddy? Clunker? Oh, this is gonna be good. I grin at Paddy expectantly, only to be met with his gaze full of discontent. My clunker is in top shape, thank you, Mato. Besides, I can see you are rather busy tonight. Still, I hoped you would have a moment for a few questions, though. It won't take long. Mato erupts into laughter, patting Paddy on the shoulder with a hand as big as a dinner plate. Any mortal would get pulverized by a friendly little pat like that. This gentle giant is truly something else. Anything for you, my man? And speaking of, who is this you brought? Mato's gaze cuts right through me, his hawkish eyes surprisingly cool and sharp despite his rugged exterior. A split second passes before I realize he's sizing me up, and that I'm coming up short. Mato probably wouldn't spare me a second glance if it weren't for Patrick. Mato, meet Kali. She has gotten a bit of a situation with the Ivory Tower. You see, well, to put it short, her execution is on hold provided she delivers the council her sire's head on a silver platter. Mato lets out a long whistle. His eyes gaining a touch of warmth, and, dare I say, grudging respect. Damn, what's a sire accused of? That's kind of what we're trying to piece together. Ever come across a lick who goes by a Reynard Cassel? Reynard, huh? Can't say it rings a bell. What's his deal? Blood trade, among other things. Patrick says it quietly, sharply, with no hesitation, and I swear I see a bit of vitae drain from Mato's face. He always drops a dirty rag he's been fiddling with ever since we got here. If it makes you any better, my ears are suffering much more than yours do right now. I bear the full brunt of this assault. A tense silence fills the air, stretching like an endless rubber band. Thankfully, just as I am a second away from blurting out some nonsense to break it, Mato speaks up. I left that shit behind, man, you know that? I know. Believe me, we're not here to dredge up the past. We just need a direction, nothing more, nothing less. Surely there's someone who's still in the loop. Someone who might have heard some rumors. Mato falls silent, avoiding Patrick's eyes. Internally, I'm giving Patrick a standing ovation. I mean, I'm well aware I've misjudged my medicative caretaker, but damn if he's not a werepuller. Maybe he could have even teach me a thing or two. I get it, it's a difficult situation for you, but I was really hoping you could help me out here. You know, I would not hesitate to reciprocate, as I have in the past. Yeah, I know. He seems more resigned than irritated, but still refuses to speak, eyes downcast, body language borderline deer in headlights. There must be some juicy history between those two, and I make sure to remember that info for later. Patrick shoots me a quick look, but before he can double down on the guilt-tripping, I flash my most charming grin and step forward. You see, I've only known Paddy here for what, a single night? Turns out that's more than enough to figure he's pretty good at killing the vibe when he puts his mind to it. That earns me an outraged glare from the caitiff, which I cheerfully ignore, and an unexpected chuckle from Mato. I count my blessings and push on. Look, I don't know the first thing about you. The whole blood trade drama or whatever, that's none of my business. I'm not about to dig in your dirt. Survival's the game we're all playing, right? Throwing a Reynard quote out there is kind of cheap, but it tends to work like a charm. So I'll back off. Plus, I'm not in a spot where I really can't afford to have anyone else in this town be pissed off at me. Yeah, gotcha. It's just that no need to spell it out for me. Gnarly parts are sort of my thing, you know? Let's just drop the whole shebang, right? He nods hesitantly, and I am not sure if he caught on to my attempt to win him over. I really hope he didn't, because I have already scanned his workshop and caught a bait or two I can feed him to keep him on the hook. Hmm. Let's try and get on his good side and overappreciate some of his stuff. I gotta say though, you've got quite a setup here. Wait, is that a ZX10R? What? Oh, right. Picked it up super cheap from some diva over Long Island a few weeks ago. The guy had a nasty crash, pretty much wrecked it, but he had no clue about the gem he was letting go of. Seriously, it looks like it just rolled off the assembly line. You got some sort of golden touch? He swells with pride at the compliment, and I bite back a grin. Everyone's got their soft spots. Mato's just happened to be glaringly obvious, if you ask me. No golden touch, no. Just the right tools and some elbow grease. And a whole lot of time, it seems. Well, yeah, but that I've got in abundance now, so... I've only come across one other like it. My, friend had one almost identical, except for the decals. He always moaned about the engine overheating. Exactly. I lean in for a closer look at the sport bike, and I can't help but letting out an exaggerated gasp. Hold on, did you swap out the cooling system for a custom one? Yeah, it bugged me to no end. Plus, this one's a huge help with the overheating, even on fast rides. This time, he genuinely smiles, and without contriving to, I smile back just as warmly. I'd totally snag one if it wasn't for all that Reynard drama. Well, I'm always on the hunt for a good find. I can't guarantee this model, but if I come across another butte like this, I can hold on to it for you, if you're interested. You know what? I might take you up on that offer. Just gotta deal with this Camarilla situation first. I gleefully sift through Mato's treasures, pretending I don't see him watching me like a hawk, clearly fighting a vicious internal battle. But in the end, neither of us breaks our silent standoff. It's time we head out. We still need to find someone who can actually give us some answers. Sorry to bother you, Mato, and thank you for your time. Ow. That's cold, even by Patrick's standards. But it sets me up perfectly. I smile brightly at Mato and wave a little. See you around, I hope. And if not, Patty here will give you my regards. We turn around to leave and I quietly count the steps. But before I reach 3, Mato curses under his breath and speaks up. Hold up. Patrick shoots me a meaningful look, but it's gone by the time we both turn back to the friendly giant. Mato's gnawing at his bottom lip and twisting the rag between his fingers. Yes? I really am out of that business, Patty. I know, Mato. Still, some whispers find their way to my ears. Nobody likes gossip more than a buzzed-up kindred. Ain't that the truth? Usually comes in real handy, too. Yeah, so there's this thin-blood alchemist. Skylar is her name, I think. Hangs around at Sunny's a lot. Sunny's? Empire of the Sun. It's a local anarch dive. Yeah, exactly, Sunny's. If anybody knows anything about the blood trade, it's her. She's the only albino around, too, so you won't mistake her for that. Thank you, Mato. This is all we need. I owe you, big time. Who knows, you might have saved my skin there. Don't mention it. Still, we should get going. Take care. Not so fast, Runt. Oh, hey there, Mia. What's with the kindred in the city and their love for lurking? Or is it me who's losing edge? Miss Sorrento, what a pleasure. The air crackles with her mutual glares. Patrick's stoic, hers livid. Mato waves at her awkwardly, to which she responds with a curt nod. Me? I might as well be invisible to her. I instantly just thought about? Surprise me. The Empire of the Sun band I see. I was thinking more of a different Empire of, specifically Empire of Sin. But that's a different game and a different setting. Completely unrelated. Torque needs you. Now. Why? I came here to tell you not to debate, you caitiff. Figure it out on your own. Patrick tries to hide his frustration, but his jaw is set and his shoulders right. Tight. Fine. Let's get moving, Kali. I don't think you heard me right. Torque summons you. Your Ravnos pup is not invited. She turns on her heel and walks off into the night. The cluttered car shop suddenly feels a touch more welcoming, as if starlight broke through after a storm. Mato gives Patrick another one of those awkward shoulder pats, but it does have a relaxing effect on him. Or at least it stops him erratically spinning the ring. May is always delightful. Wow, another kindred who dims down the room. We've really got them by the dozen here in the Big Apple, huh? Well, I suppose New York City is the city where everyone is eternally rude to you. Yeah, she's kinda definitely one of them. Name's Mia, Torque's enforcer. Sort of big fish around here. Bigger than Torque sometimes. Easy, Patty, you wouldn't want her catching wind of that. Patrick clears his throat in a uselessly mortal manner. Right. I believe that is our cue to go. Thanks again, Mato. Don't mention it. And hey, you're welcome back anytime. Both of you. You got it. Later. Oh, finally, I can bump the music up a little more. Hopefully it won't be too loud yet again. We'll see in a second. Patrick gnashes his teeth so loudly that I can hear it a good 5 feet away. He's spinning his ring in such a violent and erratic manner that for a brief, bizarre moment I think he's gonna rip his finger off. So I make a brilliant, as always, decision to lighten the mood. Yeah. Yeah. Furious bleed, hell no. Always vocalize. So, on a scale of from 1 to I'm over this, how much do you regret getting into politicking right now? About 5. Sitting comfortably on the fence, I see, as expected of a professional mediator. How did that happen, by the way? Is there a seminar for that kind of thing? To tell you the truth, Kali, I am a bit unsure myself. I am happy to report that my efforts seem to have worked. Or at least Patrick straightens up and puts his hands in the pockets instead of maiming them with a twisty ring. Still, who knows what his little claws are doing to the lining of his coat. So, what's the plan now? I have to go see Torque. Yeah, I gather, but scary enforcer lady made it clear I wasn't invited to the party. You'll just have to wait in the car then. Look, as much as I consider your perfectly serviceable car to be excellent company, we both know I can't just sit around doing nothing. Then I'll ask someone to keep an eye on you. It should not take too long. Bullshit. You and your endless debates? I'll be old and gray before you come back, and that's not even an option anymore. Seriously, you handle Torque, and I'll head over to Sunny's to look for that Skylar girl. That's not happening. Oh, come on, I've been the very model of temperance tonight. We've only been awake for mere hours. Splitting hairs, I'm heading to Sunny's to wait for you there, Scout's honor. He sighs, rubbing tiredly at his eyes. I don't miss GPS. I mean, what else can we do? Are you gonna ship me like a dog or something? And before you say anything, I'm highly allergic to any form of tracking, tech or otherwise. I have no idea what any of that means. That's probably for the best. A shade of amusement crosses Patrick's face, but he manages to swiftly suppress it. Look, it seems we're out of options here. You'll have to come with me and wait for a bit. I'll figure out what Torque wants from me, and then... He trails off mid-sentence and stares blankly into the distance, hands joining together to spin his wig. I wave my hand in front of his face, but he doesn't even flinch much. Talk about being out there. And trust me, I'm an expert on out there. After what seems like a lifetime, he finally speaks up, and I feel every single drop of predictability evaporate. Alright, let's meet at the Empire of the Sun in an hour. Hold up, for real? Empire of the Sun, 1 hour, do not let me down. And before I even have a chance to say anything, like maybe thanks or crack a joke, he turns on his heel, hops into his perfectly serviceable vehicle, and drives off into the night. Updated my journal. Somehow I botched my own rigged coin toss, and now I'm following Patrick's lead, about to have a word with his anarch buddies about Reynard. Wild. I feel right at home all alone and without anyone breathing down my neck. Surprisingly, to myself and probably to Patrick as well, I have no intention of bailing, not when there is a solid lead waiting for me at Sunny's. But then again, the night is young, lit up and gorgeous, and I'm alone in the city that never sleeps. Why not enjoy the scenic route? Which is, in this case, luck be a lady tonight. What are the odds of bumping into a street gambler right in the middle of New York City the day after Christmas at that? Slim to none, I'd say. But when fate is the dealer, you just gotta go all in. With my caretaker off doing his own thing, it feels like the Camarilla's iron fist has finally loosened up, giving me a much-needed break. No forced hangouts, no endless chases, just me cruising through the buzzing streets of the Bronx with Mariah Carey's wailing as my soundtrack for the night. Ah, thank God we are free of that curse. Because of course you just can't escape the official anthem of Christmas. But we did by virtue of time, so suck it down. I'm not a fan of the fake festive frenzy, but still, the dazzling array of lights and decorations, the infectiously high spirits and cheer, it's enough to make even a Grinch like me crack a smile. Props to the folks who turned this whole Jesus-y shit into the world's longest con. Yeah. Despite all that, I find myself craving some risky excitement. Yeah, I know I'm a lost cause in that department. Perks of the clan, so to speak. By the way, let me... Also, no, not me personally, but was it there? Just so that text messages are not lost in the middle of the text on the left. We're gonna move the pop-up box to the right. Only logical. And it looks like Lady Luck is grinning at me again tonight because despite me nearly the nearly deserted streets, I spot a small crowd gathered up ahead. Curiosity piqued, I saunter close enough to fish out a really bad gather-up routine. Get in there here, give it a chance, you all, because we're about to dive into a big old showdown, a jitterbug with destiny, or whatever's trending right now. Here, the cards are calling the shots. Hey, aren't you Kaiser's ghoul? Recognize your mug anywhere. Destiny, cards, chance, it's that same familiar melody, just played in a different key this time. Clearly, someone forgot how to tune their act. Because I remember well how it's done. Funny, this worn-out spiel takes me back to my, well, let's call them my free expression days. Back when I was still mortal, not a vile creature of the night. I can still recall the dusty desert winds, the throbbing beats, and the neon lights that veiled my deceptions. My fingers were nimble with tricks, and the crowd's gasps were the fuel for my fire. And yeah, I was a hustler, though back when I fancied myself a more of a street performer, skilled in my art, only dipping into its shadier aspects to cover my immediate expenses. Because it was about more than just making money. It was about finding that sweet spot between illusion and reality. It's just that when reality hits, it really fucking hurts. And when one chapter closes, another opens. And in that transition, Reynard played the role of a catalyst for change. Who's got the guts to risk it all? Come on, throw in a bit of your time and a few bucks and let's kick this party into high gear. The stage for this show is a dilapidated table with chipped paint and a couple of flimsy folding chairs. But it's not the dismal setup that's the most tricky. It's his whole vibe. The guy is a walking vitamin D deficiency, wrapped up tight in a jacket that could easily fit two of him. His hands are like spiders, always creeping back into his pockets when he's not dealing or shuffling. I squint up to there to get a better look at his face. His eyes shoot directly at me. Hey, folks, check it out. Check out our next contender in the crowd. How about we shuffle up for a round of poker, you and I, huh? I can see that on the sly face. 10 being smooth like Shin Lim, and 1 being just your average uncle. He's all breaks and no guess. But hey, I've been fooled before. And that never stopped me from diving headfirst into dumb risks, has it? Deal me in, slick. I slide into a chair, deliberately choosing the one he didn't point to, just to throw off his rhythm, and I toss the required change into his jar for a buy-in. The jar's pretty full, though I suspect he might have stuffed it himself to look more convincing. We're keeping it real simple with only 10 cards. No room for cheating around here. Can't sneak in an extra one because you'll bust me. And if I try to swipe one away, you'll clock me real quick. Is Hold'em dead or something? 10-card poker, really? I vaguely remember Reynard teaching me some trick to avoid getting played, but right now, my mind's so blank it feels like I'm forgetting even more stuff just by thinking about it. Alright, quick math. There is me and him, so that's 2, plus the standard 52 card deck, 10 cards in the mix, and that with, yeah, 250 something combination. Half that, then factor in whatever he's hiding up his sleeve, and that's roughly the number of ways I can get fucked over. Yeah, quick maths, as they say. I probably should have asked what we were playing before diving in. But he's already shuffling, so there's a chance to get a read on him. I need a plan, stat. Let's try to keep it analytical and take a peek at the cards. As I watch the gambler's movements, subtle as a and on the sly, a flicker of recognition crosses my face. Oh, he's got more skill than I initially gave him credit for, but not enough to hide the jitters of a rookie. He's not even really shuffling, just stacking the deck. Kid stuff, really. The cards are rigged, and there is definitely something fishy about at least one of them. Now the million-dollar question. Which card is it? Playing the first round against even a shitty hustler is basically throwing my cash into a black hole. But hey, I'm feeling generous today. I'll even toss in a few extra bucks just to keep the game interesting. He deals and I check my hand. Jack of clubs, queen of hearts, king of spades. And a pair of eights. Oh man, not bad. I just barely won. Got 2 pairs, jacks and queens. Just as expected. He's playing 3 of a kind with 3 different cards. And the culprit behind my defeat, the one card causing all the trouble, the king of spades. I need to steer clear of it at all costs. Very easy to win when you're the one doing the shuffling. The crowd backs me up with the murmurs of agreement. He looks rattled for a second, but quickly recovers with a smirk. Alright. You know what? Let's even the odds a bit. I'll show you the card, and you can decide whether to keep it or pass it back to me. Deal? Finally, things are about to get interesting. He finishes shuffling and flicks the first card my way. Let's also bump up the volume a little bit, because there is definitely some music happening in the background, as you'll hear soon enough. Your choice. The Queen of Hearts makes her grand entrance, all pomp and circumstance. Again, we gotta steer clear of King of Spades. So I think we can take the Queen of Hearts. Yes, Queen. Lead our way to victory. I'm trying very hard not to gag at this sentence. Somehow this vampire is more of a zoomer than I am. Definitely mine. The King of Spades appears, all business with his arms crossed. You want this card, or should I take it? Yep, you can have it. Sorry, King, but you're not making the cut. No thanks, you keep it. His eyebrow twitches nervously. Sure? Just keep dealing. How about now? The 8 of diamonds, about as exciting as watching paint dry. Hmm. 8 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. What was the last card that we won with? Let's see here. Jacks and queens. Pair of 8s. You know what? I think we can take it. Yeah, alright. I'll keep it. I make a few more calls, deciding whether the cards go to him or to me until he's dealt them all. Just a heads up, you've seen all the cards, so we can still swap decks if you want. His shaky posture says it all. Oh, buddy, you really backed yourself into a corner, and I can't resist pushing just a little more. Do you want to swap the piles? He shoots me a sour look and reluctantly reveals his hand. I won. Yep, told you. The crowd cheers for me while the gambler leans in, his voice a low hiss. You were counting, weren't you? Cheater! What's that, butt? I can't hear I can't hear over your whiny calling me black. You cheated! You knew exactly what to do. Admit it, nobody beats me without cheating. His accusation, foolish and loud enough to carry probably 2 blocks away, definitely catches the attention of everyone nearby. This is just too perfect. Did you all hear that? I think somebody just confessed. Suddenly, it's so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Then the whispers start, quickly turning into a chorus of boos. But I'm not sticking around for the rotten tomatoes. I snatch up my winnings and book it into the night, serenaded by the sound of shattered glass, coins clinking on the pavement, and the loser's whimpers. And then I speed up. I have already wasted way too much time here. Well, that went alright. On to the main quest. Empire of the Sun. From pillar to post to another anarch spot. Not working, right? With Patrick temporarily out of the picture, it's on me to wring that Skylar Duskborn dry for every last drop of intel. The area outside Empire of the Sun is pretty sparse, both with mortals and my fellow kindred, so chilling out front isn't a big deal. I blend in perfectly, all amped up for whatever is going down tonight. Still, old habits die hard, so I take a sec to study the area carefully, taking in on the way my con artist sensibilities demand. First off, it's mostly tame out here. The only dude catching my eye is this total nutjob parked by the door, screaming about doomsday while rocking that coked-up Al Pacino look. He's got that wild vibe, complete with drool and insanity in his eyes. Yikes. Even if I was still in the grifter game, I wouldn't bother with him. Lunatics like that are more trouble than they're worth, and usually broke to boot. An astute observation. Then there is the front of the dive, which looks, for the lack of a better word, loved. Despite the dodgy neon and the graffiti that's actually kind of witty, the place radiates an inviting warmth. A place with a soul. I'm guessing these lyrics are from that band you mentioned, right? Or there's a song from that band. Still, the Empire of the Sun sign, with Zoo scribbled next to it, Empire of the Sun Zoo, is so on the nose I can't help chuckling on the inside. People clearly have fun at Sunny's and treat it as their place. A place they can return to again and again and again and never feel unwelcome. But I'm wasting precious time just standing out here. Gotta find Skylar before Paddy comes back and gives me the look. Walking in a Dream by Empire of the Sun. Another song I gotta listen to. I head for the entrance, doors decked out with all sorts of funny stickers, but before I can even touch the handle, the crazy guy grabs me with unexpected speed for someone so curled up. I shake him off easily and give him my best back-off glare. It does nothing. He's in his own world. Uh-oh, it's coming! The reckoning is upon us! Signs! The signs! Hey, back off, will ya? Look up! Look up, damn you! It's death! Death dressed in rays of light! It's watching! The day star is waiting to cleanse us in fire! As I walk past the guy, his words echo in my head and rattle between the crevices of my graffiti brain, stirring long, dormant fears. Well, as you should fear the sun. You're, after all, a vampire. Can you see it? The day star. It's the end of it all! I enter Sunny is acting all cool and collected as if none of that crazy shit fazed me. The interior looks exactly the way I expected, a kaleidoscope of stickers, murals, lights, and banners covering pretty much every available surface, interspersed with well-worn seating, musical instruments, and plenty of space for dancing. To say that I've seen it hundreds of times before in dozens of cities doesn't quite capture the whole picture. But when you... well, yeah. You've been to one place like that, you've been to them all. But they all carry a charm with them. I can attest. But I gotta say, feels like home. Spotting Skylar is easy with her head full of bleached dreadlocks. Besides, the bar is practically empty. Maybe all the kindred have gone to ring in the holiday season? Who knows? She's hunched over a table, completely focused on scribbling something in a notebook. She doesn't notice me as I approach, so I get a sneak peek at one of the pages and discover some gorgeous, intricate designs for, I assume, geometric tattoos. Hey there, Skylar. I plop down right next to her, shaking her out of her reverie. She gives me a confused stare. Do I know you? And already you look like the whitest girl I know. Well, now you do. Name's Kali, and I'm here to employ the power of networking. Her eyes narrow on me, to which I respond with my brightest grin. Can I help you or something? I'm looking for Reynard Castle. Never heard of him. So if that's all, and where do you think you're going? I grab her by the collar as gently as I can and ease her back down. She resists a little, but let's be honest, a thin blood has nothing on a well-fed kindred. I keep her down easily, but my grin widens in a manner that is hopefully just a little bit threatening. I usually favor dodging conflict over sparking it, but this time my impulses steer me toward chaos, and I let the flood take me like a ship on a windswept sea. Let go of me. Answer my question, then. Reynard Castle. Where is he? Look, I really don't know any Reynard Castle or whatever, okay? Really? Plain dumb. Do I look like I'm here for games? Cut the shit and talk. I have nothing to say to you, bitch. Let me go or I'll start screaming. Do we use Don't or do we use chemistry? Oh yeah, she will unleash the sex robot. Maybe not the robot exactly, but a ghoul or a kindred that is a friend of hers. Taking all of that into account, I am actually leaning towards more of chemistry for this one. Because clearly the Talk no Jutsu will not work in here. So yeah, no you won't. How? You have no mouth. I watch as her eyes bulge, hands grasping wildly at her face and finding nothing. Blocking the sense of touch is not something I do often, but when the opportunity arises, it's always a sight to behold. Classic Agent Smith maneuver. Before she can catch on to the illusion, I theatrically snap my fingers, bringing her attention back to my face. There we go, all back to normal. Now, where is Reynard Castle? She touches her mouth, tugging at her lips, tracing the teeth, moving the jaw left and right a few times. Relief washes over her face, and she stutters a little when she speaks up. I honestly don't know. I've only heard bits and pieces about him. Only alchemists worth their salt knows all of the major supplies in the city. So you're an alchemist. Impressive. Very nice, even. Screw you. Not sure where my genuine compliment went wrong, but okay. So what's the scoop on Castle? Preferably his current whereabouts. I Keep telling you, I've got no clue. I've never even laid eyes on him. Then give me something worthwhile. You're sort of wasting my time here, girlie. Love me a good chat, but I'm on the clock at the moment. Alright, chill out, will ya? I know someone. There's this courier. She delivers all sorts of shit all over the county. Can get you pretty much anything. She's type at Castle, alright? Let me guess, she's speaking about us. Interesting. Go on. Go on. Go on what? I smothered the urge to roll my eyes. Go on, hook me up with her like yesterday. All those threats and she still hesitates to help me. Well, the time for the stick has come and gone. Now is the time for the carrot. I really wasn't lying when I told Mato I'd rather not make any more enemies in the city. Look, you're not exactly catching on here. I could just take your phone and set up the meeting myself. But I'm feeling generous, so I'm asking you. Politely, I might add. You call that polite? Well, you're still in one piece, aren't you? I'll even sweeten the pot, alright? You set me a meeting with that courier of yours, and I'll clue you in on where I stash my goods. Her ears perk up a little, but she still eyes me with great suspicion. What goods are we talking about? I flash her a reassuring grin, and though she recoils a little, her attempt at nonchalance fails miserably. Blood stashes, obviously. Top quality, best variety. All your little alchemist heart might possibly desire. Deal? I reach out my hand, pausing to give her the space to decide before I'm forced to make the decision for her. Luckily, after a brief deliberation, she reaches out and shakes my hand. Deal. Hold on, I'm gonna make this quick call. I nod and relax, keeping her in sight as she wanders over to the stage area to take out her phone. I feel a twinge of guilt over how I treated her. Maybe I should have just started off with that whole blood stash thing. Yeah, well, I'm not exactly a planner, am I? If this courier leads me to Reynard tonight, this whole search could end in a matter of hours. Just the thought of freeing myself from the looming threats of the Camarilla, that annoying caitiff, and this also futile endeavor, it warms the chambers of my undead heart. Finally, Skylar hangs up and gets back to the table, fidgeting with a charm hanging from her phone. A real bundle of nerves. Done. Meeting's in 15. Let's move. Ah, I guess it wasn't us as the courier this time. When it blazes brightest, we'll all be judged. A gentle snowfall greets me outside, gracefully covering the dirty sidewalks in a layer of pristine white, and dusting the occasional pedestrian with soft, fleeting crowds. Skylar winces at the scream of the madman and brushes off the fallen snow. I, on the other hand, let it settle in my hair undisturbed. Snow never bothered me anyway. Okay, that's 5-point strike for the Frozen reference. So, who are we meeting exactly and where? The moment she opens her mouth, the perfectly serviceable vehicle cuts the corner with Patrick hunched over in the steering wheel. We gotta let it go, huh? Damn it, I cannot remember any other phrases from the movie itself, so... Well, we will just let it go and move along. Patrick hunched over the steering wheel, a roiling storm cloud on his face. He pulls up carelessly and lunges towards Sunny's before noticing Skylar and me. He pauses, face scrunching in confusion. He seems genuinely surprised to see me, and I'm suspended somewhere between feeling smug for defying his expectations, exasperated that he has so little faith in my word, and slightly regretful. I never even attempted to flee, if only to gauge his reaction. No, the cold does bother me very much, thank you. Sadly, he regains his composure before I can tease him about it. You're here. That's good. Duh, told you I'll be here. Indeed, though given your track record, you understand why I find it shocking, yet not entirely unpleasant. Hey, I never gave my word I'd stick around last time, did I? He rolls his eyes and settles his gaze on Skylar. They size each other up suspiciously like a pair of alley cats in a hot tin roof. Patty, meet Skylar, a local anarch with a knack for alchemy. Skylar, meet Patty. It's Patrick, actually. Pleased to meet you, Skylar. Yeah, alright, you super formal goof. Skylar nods at him curtly. I can see the apprehension in her eyes, so I step in, hoping to keep up our fragile troops. Don't stress too much. Patrick might be a bit uptight, but he's alright. He's just here to offer a cell lift, that's all. I am? Yep. I see. Skylar's eyes jump between Patrick and me, but at the end he seems to just give up on caution. Maybe the prospect of a ripe blood stash is keeping her on track. We need to get moving. The meeting place ain't far, but, well, night couriers aren't known for their patience. Let's hustle. A night courier, huh? Interesting. Who is this particular courier exactly? She shrugs, making her way toward the caitiff's ride. Dunno. I only know her by the handle, but she always wears a helmet, so... It's gotta be fine, probably. Well, as long as she knows where Reynard is, she could be a gargoyle for all I care. Not that gargoyles are known for their patience, or tolerance for kindred, especially Tremere. On the contrary, spending centuries in one spot would teach a gargoyle patience, provided they were real. Which is exactly what Tremere would want you to say. I laugh at his smug expression while Skylar just shakes her head and climbs into the car without a word. Still chuckling, I turn back to Patrick. Anyways, you done with the torque thing? Yes. His speedy response is slightly suspicious. I narrow my eyes and judge him openly, but he's completely unfazed. More importantly, what's all that about a night courier? I smile at him mischievously, fling the passenger door open, and there it is. Patrick's audible sigh. He's really fond of his mortal reactions to my antics. Voices of the angels! They seep poison! Poison into your ears! Heed not, oh, heed not their honeyed words! The sudden commotion alerts me, and I'm instantly ready to bounce. The loony from before is kneeling before Patrick, clutching at the hem of his pants with his head thrown back and misted-over eyes staring blankly into the night sky. He stopped screaming, but his lips quiver with faint whispers that fade into the air like smoke. Dream not in your slumber, for the day star will sear its truth unto your whole being. I sigh and roll my eyes, ready to toss a quip about like attracting like. But then I notice that Patrick has not moved an inch. He's staring motionlessly into the man's eyes, completely frozen aside from his hand, fingers twitching wildly, spinning the dice ring. He's been fidgeting like that a lot, actually, now that I'm paying attention. Patrick? You okay there, buddy? No answer. The catatonic madman falls over into the snow as I approach and gently free Patrick from his grasp. Patrick? Talk to me. What's going on? Suddenly his hand stops, then all of him unfreezes. He avoids my eyes and shoves his hands into his pockets. I'm fine. You sure? What was that all about? I do not know. Let's not fret about it for now. The night courier is waiting. Well, yes, after all, Bloodlines had one, so why shouldn't this one have it one too? Also, updated my journal. Mato came through and I finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. A local thin blood alchemist has intel about blood rating, and that sounds like a straight shot to my sire. Let's see if we have an update on Patrick here. Does not look like it. Maybe a little later. Up next, Night Courier. I thought I knew every fixer with whom Reynard had ties in, given my role as the logistics gal of our coterie. Maybe I'm just tired, but I have no clue who that Night Courier might be, and it sends my trickster senses into overdrive. Usually I'd fill the car with some kind of idle talk, whether I'm with friends or just by myself, but this time I just let the silence hang. Neither Patrick nor Skylar seemed keen on chatting. Not even when classic Queen tracks play. So the Cative's perfectly serviceable car is almost uncomfortably quiet as we cruise through the night streets of New York City. I've got this strange sensation in my stomach, like I've eaten a chunk of ice. If Kindred could get indigestion, I'd blame it on my last mortal meal, but since that's not a thing, I guess this feeling must be anxiety. It's really not my usual vibe. Something about this whole situation makes the hairs on my neck stand right up. It feels like there is something terrifying waiting for me at our destination, just a few blocks away. But weirdly enough, my gut is telling me not to run from it. And my gut is usually spot on. As we pull up to the meeting spot, the night courier stands out immediately, mostly because she's the only one around. Clad in dark leathers and sporting a helmet, she almost disappears into the night alongside her bike. We barely come to a halt before Skylar jumps out of the car and approaches the courier in a few strides. She seems eager to talk and even more eager to bolt, so I keep my eye on her, ready to give chase. She looks like she might make a run for it. It's not even a question. I shoot a quick glance his way and I catch him looking at Skylar just as intently as I am. Well, I most certainly would in her place. The real question is whether she's willing to sacrifice access to my stash for that chance. And she seemed pretty keen to get her hands on it. I see. Well, let's hope her interest hasn't waned then. The moment Skylar pivots and heads our way, we cut the chatter and get out of the car and step out of the car. 5 minutes. That's all I could get for you. Spend it well. Her hand reaches out to me in a gesture that feels overly formal. Low 5. I slap her hand with a loud low 5. Theatrical eye roll laced with annoyance is all I get for that. The key. You know, to your stash? I held up my end of the bargain. Yeah, got it right here. I toss her the key, which she easily snags out of the air. Pleasure. With that, she's off into the night. And as she disappears, we casually approach the night courier. One look at Patrick reveals a simmering impatience. I know he wants to take the lead, and honestly, while I'm not exactly thrilled to step aside, it seems like a pragmatic choice. Let's face it, negotiations with Skylar went less than stellar, even by my standards. But Patrick hardly gets a word out before the courier cuts him off with a sharp, sour response. Shut the hell up, pretty boy. Wait. I know the son of that walking angst vortex. Kali? The fuck did you get yourself into this time? She takes off the helmet and I'm floored, staring at a face I never thought I'd see again, outside of some vampire afterlife fantasy. Jess? Holy shit, is that actually you? Something tells me it's time to tone down the music again, because that one is gonna be loud once again. And it most certainly will. Yep, precisely. Is this why you dragged my ass over here, to star in this shitty high school reunion? As prickly as ever, I'm dying to give her a hug, but her thundercloud of a face screams back the fuck off. I settle for an awkward pat on the shoulder. Care to introduce us? Jess's eyes nearly pop out of her head. Oh, piss off. Is this really why I'm out here? What? No, hell no. Let's just go one step at a time. Christ. Patrick, meet Jessica Wainwright. I know you like it formal. She was part of our crew before she up and vanished like a ghost, a year back or so. Speaking of which, we thought you were gone. For good, I mean. She seems thrown by that, but she swallows whatever rush of words is clawing at her throat. Oh, really? Well, that clears up the mystery of the silent phones. So we're playing it like that. I fucking warned you, you dick. Not like I can text beyond the grave. FYI, I left you guys a fucking note. This whole situation is surreal. The hell are you about? Reynard said... Ah, of course. Reynard fucking Castle turning shit into gospel. Her deceptively soft features harden. Why the hell are you poking around for him anyway? Let's be honest with her in this one. Got nothing to hide after all. Why? Because it's a fucking Tuesday, yeah, that's why. And by that I mean he's off the grid and now I'm neck deep in shit because the Camarilla wants him round. Right. And who is this charmer? I'm essentially the raft keeping her afloat in the cesspool she's plunged into. I'm not gonna lie, I jump up a little. I sort of forgot he was even there. I still toss him a wounded look and pout a little while Jess lets out a hearty laugh. So I'm surfing with this wave of horse shit with you? Oh, you filthy, filthy lifeline. The sheriff had him shadow me. I swear he's useful sometime. Maybe it's the pretty yet infinitely punchable face that does it. Right. And you just went along with all this creeping around because why, exactly? Look, it was either play nice or get up close and personal with the sheriff's sharp-ass blade, so yeah, I chose the lesser of the two shit shows. She's clearly not amused. Stepping outside of the gang has really changed her vibe. Hell, we used to get along swimmingly back when we were cramped up in that RV together. Maybe a bit of real talk is what I need to melt that ice. I drop my voice as if I'm letting her in on a deep, dark secret. Or a deep, dark fantasy. Truth be told, there's gotta be something bigger at play with this whole mess, you hear me? I just can't figure out what the hell they want with Reynard, and why now of all times. Jess shrugs and crosses her arms over her chest, looking like she couldn't care less. Water's wet, the sky's blue, and piss stinks. By which I mean, underneath all that charm, Castle's been a two-faced lying sack of shit from day one. No wonder the whole ivory tower is on his tail. Now, while I am at it, let me just try to adjust a little bit. Now then. Uh-huh. Seems to be acceptable. Let's continue. Hold up. There's clearly bad blood between her and Reynard, and it's skewing her view a bit. Maybe. At some point, maybe. The boyfriend experience variety, or bro-friend experience. Charming? Sure. I'd buy snake oil off the bastard too, but he'd always been straight with me. What's even worse, she has this horrid look in her eye I can only interpret as pity. The hell's there to pity? I'm doing just fine, thank you very much. Compared to the grapevine, you might know where Castle is hiding. And Jess laughs at that. Am I losing my edge here? Oh, honey, Castle's in even deeper shit than Kali is. See, I've been involved with the circulatory system on and off, passing messages and whatnot. She leans back even further onto her bike, all cool and collected, like nothing gets to her. I almost follow, enraptured, but catch myself at the last moment and straighten up, signaling for her to continue. Word is Castle shot right up to the top of their shitlist just a couple nights back, based on some fresh intel they got from who knows where. I'll read all the runs including the Book of Grudges ASMR. Alright, let's go in the fucking book. Suddenly, she leans forward on her elbows, looking at me nervously. This is major league shit, Kali. Could be Uncle Sam level big. And it might not just be Castle in the crosshairs, but anyone tangled up with him. Keep the hell away. Yeah, except running away somehow vanished from my playbook. I'll literally lose my head over it. She shrugs and starts putting her helmet on. It's your problem, not mine. I bailed on that clusterfuck of a sire for a reason, and our life's been beautiful ever since. Good fucking luck, though. Pause for dramatic effect. And don't bother calling me again. Then she's gone, just an engine roar fading into the night. Right back at ya, bitch! Without looking at Patrick, I let out an awkward laugh and kicked at some loose stones. Desperately trying to look cool, Kali. She's, uh, she's quite something. How are you holding up? Seen better nights. That one cut deep, though. So, the circulatory system, huh? What's your take? Patrick mercifully bites his glib tongue and pretends not to see that I'm sorta in shambles. It appears that they are more eager to nab Reynard Castle than we anticipated, and they managed to acquire some incriminating intel. To be honest, things don't look too good for him. Great, and we're still no closer to finding him than we were on last night, or whenever. There's also the matter of whether the circulatory system intends to hunt you as well, by virtue of being Reynard's accomplice. Oh please, I'm hardly even a sidekick. He levels a blank stare at me and I bark out a laugh, my spirits momentarily lifted. I rub my hands together briskly, suddenly feeling like mischief. Well, seeing as your anarchy didn't really pan out, guess we're hitting Sanseric next. Bumping up the sound back again. Also looks like another friend of mine went online with the stream. The guy mostly plays older stuff, like Gex, believe it or not. So that is beside our point for now. He hesitates, idly twirling his ring, more a tick than an actual need this time. It is indeed our backup lead, but only lead. Fine. At the moment, it is our only lead, but I have my reservations about Sanseric. Let's unpack this back at my haven. Besides, dawn is nearly upon us. Already? He starts walking towards the car, then pauses when he sees I haven't moved. I tug at the frayed edge of my sleeve, smiling at him almost apologetically. Yeah, funny story, but I can't. Literally. He sizes me up relentlessly. Kali, this isn't the moment for your antics. We need to move, and quickly. Thing is, your haven isn't safe for me anymore. What are you... It's just a thing with my clan. If I crash in the same spot more than once a week, you might as well sweep me up at sundown, like with a broom. Yeah, that's actually the game mechanics at play here, because the more time you spend at one place, you start waking up with aggravated damage. More and more, until you change your place. He looks at me piercingly, searching for the seat which for once isn't there. His fingers dance on his hand, spinning the ring furiously. Finally, they come to a stop. Yeah, I get it. I'm not messing around, Oh, you do? A hint of mirth sparkles in his gaze, though his expression remains stoic. Let's rendezvous at my place tomorrow night. I've got a private eye in mind who might have an idea where to find Sanseric. A PI? You're not talking about D'Angelo, are you? He arches his eyebrow, a flicker of surprise on his face. Already acquainted, I see. More like disappointed. The leper's a good guy, but a dead end. Grilled him about Reynard and got zilch. He even implied it was somehow my fault Reynard vanished off the face of the earth. Well, Castle is practically a ghost. Sanseric, on the other hand, is not exactly hiding. D'Angelo should know a thing or two about him. Fair, but he's a slippery little eel. We might need leverage to get him talking. A shade of a smile crosses his face. Leave that to me. He'll talk. He turns around and climbs behind the perfectly serviceable wheel. Tomorrow dusk, my haven, don't let me down. I give him a playful salute, waving as he pulls away. Ah, look at that. Night's bleeding into day already. I really need to get a move on. There's a damp little cellar that I've been eyeing for a crash pad. It's not exactly the Ritz, but I've done my homework. It's secure enough for a quick sleepover. Time's ticking, but with any luck, I'll snag some prey en route. It's not good to sleep on an empty stomach, after all. There it is, feeding opportunity. Detour. A dense floor drenched in darkness. the beat dropping like it's on fire. Warm bodies pressed tight, buzzed, high, and full of precious blood. This club is the prime spot to sink my teeth into. The moment I step into the club, I know it's an excellent place to hunt. Crowded with mortals, blackout drunk and high out of their minds, swaying, jumping, and riding on the dance floor like there's no tomorrow. Only tonight, only now, only ecstasy. I'm gonna quench that awful glowing thirst in no time. Let's see, what do we have here? No, not yet. This is, after all, a mortal-only party, not the vampire dance club. Let's look at the wallflowers. You'd think that prowling for blood would be easier on the dance floor, but I know better. I was literally born at a rave, twice, and spent both those lives dancing the nights away at clubs and bars. I know my way around like nobody else. Sure, some of the people leaning against the walls are there for a reason, to take a break, to have a drag, to find victims of their own. But some of them would like to be a part of the crowd. It's just their inhibitions stopping them from stepping in. And I'm here to help them break those barriers. There's a guy sitting with his back against the wall, head in hands, hugging his knees, frozen, paralyzed, clearly on a bad trip. Somebody should haul him out and help him get sober. That somebody isn't me. I can already sense the jazzed up blood, the accelerated heartbeat right beneath his skin. And tonight I'm not in the mood for Molly. How about the teen twitching rhythmically in the corner, clearly too young to even be in the club? Should I teach them the dangers of the night before it's too late? Nah, too much effort. What if they imprint on me like some duckling? Besides, I've already decided on my target. There's a girl standing by the restrooms in sensible jeans and a tie-dye t-shirt. She has a flustered smile on her face and a beer can in her hand. I bet she poured it out and filled it with water so none of her friends, long lost to the dancing crowd, felt uncomfortable around her. Her, I can teach. I approach her straight on, with a wide, inviting smile on my lips, and watch her shuffle around her feet nervously. When I'm just inches away, she opens her mouth to say something, but instead I cover her lips with my own. But I don't hear the surprised sound she makes, but I can feel it, the vibration in her throat under my palm. I skillfully take her by the hand and push her into the restroom, straight into an empty stall. There I crowd her, a blushy mess, against the wall and kiss her again, knocking down her defenses like dominoes. And now we feed. She doesn't protest when I move my lips into her neck and nibble on it. But she sure minds when I bare my fangs and take a bite. I don't drain her completely, of course, even though the amount I drink is not nearly enough to completely satisfy me. Honestly, it never is. I let her have a few sips and lower her gently onto the toilet. She looks at me, dazed, and struggles to get up, but I put a firm hand on her shoulder, keeping her down. She'll need a minute or two before her head stops spinning. So I just pat her gently on the cheek, ruffle her hair, and disappear into the night like I was never there. For the moment, I am almost sated. Off to sleep. Last resort. If you're a Ravnos, home is just a dead memory. You've only got a bunch of hideouts, some better than others, each offering a day's worth of safety. And one of them is close by, just waiting for me to hunker down and collect my thoughts. This again. This again. Should be good. If the Angelus Haven qualifies as a hovel, then this temporary shelter of mine is a full-on catastrophe. So utterly dismal it could force Tommy Wiseau to shed a genuine tear. Mold is practically redecorating the ceiling. And let's not start on the bed. A suspiciously damp mattress that leaks some extra sus fluid onto the floor with each squeeze. Yep, she's a zoomer, all right. Home, sweet fucking home. But hey, at least it's pretty secure. There's zero chance of sunlight sneaking in here. Maybe because the resident microbes have evolved enough to shut out anything that threatens their germy utopia. I sprawl out on the lumpy mattress to sulk over my dead Walkman, cursing myself for not getting spare batteries. When Reynard pulled that thing out, I legit thought he was going to wiretap me. But turns out he was just giving me a piece of his past. A little gift from the better times, or whatever. Honestly, as if I needed another thing to play my tunes. Our gang is not as uptight about going online as the tower, so we stream just like everyone else. Look at you having a Spotify account. I kind of got hooked, especially with the mountain of old cassettes crammed into our glove box. Digging through my belt bag in search of entertainment yields only the wooden stake that almost pierced my heart the night before. Yeah, most likely. Shit. Almost feels like another lifetime. But the stake sends my thoughts drifting to Patrick. I am pretty conflicted, to be honest. Can I trust him? He seems to be on my side, caring even, but there's something off about him, something unsettling. I can't put my finger on it. It doesn't help that he changes the length of my leash for no rhyme or reason. His mood swings faster than the San Francisco weather. It's so annoying that he's now indispensable to my survival. Except for tonight. He was anything but. Still, he introduced me to Mato. My gut's screaming that this is gonna be a game changer for navigating the city, maybe even beyond. Skylar, not so much. And Jess? Yeah, I'll hold off on poking at that sore spot for a bit longer. At least until after I shake off the dark sleep that's clawing at me. Eager, suffocating, steadily pulling me into the abyss. Meanwhile, I would say I've been more than considerate. She responds with silence, and that unnervingly calm, icy stare that could easily drive one to the brink of madness. I thought I'd be used to it by now, but it slices through me as viciously as the very first time. How long has it been now? 5, 6 months? Half a year trapped in this endless spin of justifications, half-truths, and unfulfilled promises, constantly veered off course. Despite her alleged interest in my unique condition, despite our shared thirst for answers, despite the growing urgency, the resolution to my dilemma always hovers just beyond my grasp. Still, she is the first kindred to make me believe she could truly grant me reprieve. I have been holding up my end of the bargain. Not once have I raised objections, not once have I strayed from our agreement. But I'm not one of your puppets, Vritra. I thought I made my stance unequivocally clear. That you did. This cannot go on. You need to deliver on your promises, or I'm walking away. She cracks a smile as stunning as it is rare, like a dragon flashing its fangs. It suits her, given her true nature. All in due time, dear. All in due time. I'm guessing you're at Simis, hey? Judging by the face, the little axe decorated with a dragon or two? No, with a dragon. And definitely the markings that she's wearing on her jacket. Definitely that seems him. Well, or if we go by that detail over here, and imagine she's a Baali, but I'm not sure Baali are Thingian Vampire 5th. So we're gonna stick with the Simisei. New journal entry edit. The night courier was not the hideout I ducked into wasn't exactly a 5-star hotel, but at least it shielded me from sunlight. It helped me mull over where Patrick's loyalties lie. Place your bets, people. Is Patrick only pretending to be a caitiff, or is he genuinely one? Since our protagonist mentioned mood swings, what are the chances that he is actually a Malkavian? Think about it as we continue through this game. Nothing over here. Oh, nothing new that we have seen. So just tick these off. Here we go. Jessica Wainwright, Night Courier. A child of Reynard Castle who, fed up with his constant lies, left their gang for good a year ago. Now, for the first time in her own life, she relies solely on herself, riding through New York City as a night courier. She'll deliver anything for anyone who pays, all the while picking up gossip throughout the city, which she will gladly sell to the highest bidder. Julia Sawinski, always welcome. Mato Blomqvist, Premier Apostate. Ooh. Traumatized by his sire's ruthlessness, Mato Blomqvist left his clan and the world of thaumaturgy behind to pursue a path more in harmony with his peaceful nature. He opened a car repair shop in the Anarch turf and threw himself into his work, finding solace in an unlikely hobby. This gentle giant is probably the most humane kindred in the Bronx. Just ask Patrick Conroy, once his regular customer, then a savior, and now Mato's ally. Mia Sorrento, Bruja, right hand to Torque. When Mia Sorrento means business, there is little that can sway her, a fact well known by the licks who respect her. She once considered herself Torque's protector and moral compass, steering him towards Anarch ideals. However, as he increasingly aligned with the Camarilla, she became more radical in her opposition. The situation escalated when she lost her status as Torque's advisor, supplanted by the caitiff Patrick Conroy. Her clash with Torque is inevitable. The only question is, when? Second. I mentioned that sometimes there is this awful feeling when you are allergic to something, but can't quite pinpoint exactly what. Especially when it comes to coughing. That's why sometimes I just stop for a second. Well, you've heard me coughing. I'm. It's just that I'm sometimes not too quick on the mute button, as I should be. Anyway, Kadira Lasmai, nothing new. Skylar, thin blood, well-connected alchemist. Skylar, an albino duskborn, has first-hand information about the blood trade in New York, keeping a tight network of low-profile contacts. While she strives to appear tough among her anarch peers, her demeanor easily crumbles under the right influence. Squeaker, Thomas Arturo, Torque, and Valerie Dubab. Nothing else, it seems, unless we go through the glossary as well, but that shouldn't be needed. Night 3. December 2024, 5 nights till New Year, so we are at December 26th by now. It's painfully obvious Patrick never believed I'd actually turn up for the meeting. I catch him off guard in front of his haven. He leans against the door absent-mindedly and yet anxiously spitting his ring while scanning his surroundings. In the seconds when he looks away, I creep up quietly and casually, relishing the oncoming surprise. Hey there, pretty boy. You come here often? His head whips around, and for a split second, surprise and relief flash across his face before it contorts into confusion. What do you mean? It's my haven. I sleep here. I deflate a bit out of exasperation, but still manage a light-hearted laugh. You're no fun. Apparently, he decides to ignore me, slipping back into his usual indifference. He gets into the car. I hop in right after. Let's pay D'Angelo a visit, shall we? Yeah, no time to dilly-dally, right? Correct. I'm pretty sure he's ignoring my sharp-ass remarks on purpose, but the way he slams on the gas pedal, that gives me a tiny glimmer of hope that he's not a lost cause. Either way, the perfectly serviceable vehicle does fine, cruising through the night streets, and this time, it's not even that awkward. D'Angelo, you here? The shithole he calls an office looks just the way I left it 2 nights ago, except for some new pins on the cork board where the charts he charts he's crazy, and a trapdoor flung wide open, probably leading down to whatever he hides out during the day. Maybe he won't. Maybe we should give it a minute. He won't keep us waiting too long. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Let's keep it in character. Hey, Mr. Detective, a damsel in distress desperately needs your help. And then there's me. Patrick rolls his eyes, but to my disappointment, there's no comeback. D'Angelo squints at me as he emerges from beneath the floor, but his lips move silently. I strain my ears to hear it. They appeared like shadows, the kind cast by the worn-out hopes and dreams of this wretched city. Dreams that could only be saved by none other than Gianni D'Angelo. Lose the vape already. Get back to the cigarettes. Saved? That's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? He leans up back over the rickety table, shaking his head as if to dislodge the noir cliché stuck in his brain. Golly, a pleasure. As D'Angelo turns to Patrick, I catch a hint of a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Gianni? Patrick, looks like you're still losing your head. Just not literally, huh? Indeed, the sheriff is yet to relieve me of my cranial burden. But worry not, there is still time until the new year. You might yet win that little bet of ours. I probably shouldn't bribe, given the fact that my own neck is on the line here, but... I mean, there's a treasure trove of a relationship to dig into here. Anyway, we came here to... These makeshift corkboards are totally plastered with photos, clippings, texts, and maps, all tied together with thin red lines. And unless my memory is as shitty as a squirrel's on speed, this crap wasn't here 2 nights ago. You know, I'd ask how you two freaks met, but all this red string spider webbing over your crazy map is just screaming for attention. Don't worry about it. Is that the thing you wanted to wrap up before getting the hell out of Dodge? What's it about? Power, corruption, all the usual suspects in the darkness suffocating this wretched city. I tune him out instantly as he gears for another long noir-esque spiel. It's a story as old as the streets, my friend. It all started when... Please stop messing with my stuff. I reluctantly drop one of the many scattered pens and put my hands innocently in the air. I'd love to have a catch-up with you, Gianni, but we did have an agenda walking in here. A glimmer of light flickers in D'Angelo's shades as he turns toward me. I hate to break it to you, but if you're here for intel and Castle, you're out of luck. No new leads since we last talked. It concerns Castle, broadly speaking, although he's not exactly the crux of our conversation right now. Sweet lord. Eli Sansaric. Where do we find him, Gianni? Or Eli Sansaric? D'Angelo narrows his eyes, squinting at me suspiciously, and fiddles with his e-cig. The Serpent? What's your angle? What are you after? He's like the only one of Reynard's contacts that doesn't seem to fucking despise him. Since our other lead was a bust, he's my best shot at finding Reynard and shaking the Camarilla off my back. D'Angelo tilts his head like some curious, funky, ugly little rat. Damn. Heard through the grapevine you're marked for the job, but... Shit. Yeah, and I'd love to dish out all the dirty details, but I'm seriously pressed for time. So where the hell is Sansaric? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. D'Angelo takes a long drag of his e-cig as if he's really trying to savor the flavor. I wonder if he actually makes an effort to kickstart his taste buds or if it's just a part of his usual act. Sansaric and his serpents are gone from Harlem and nobody really knows why. I've got theories, but they're just that, so... But you are just itching to tell me, right? I flash him a dazzling smile, but he just scowls in return. He takes one more drag to regain his noir composure. What was that old line? Water under the bridge? I give him a curious glance. His answer was just a touch too quick and out there, as if he suddenly got nervous. But D'Angelo speaks up before I can probe any further. Look, I've been doing you dirty throwing half-baked hints your way. Just check Sansarec's usual hangouts. St. Philip's and the vicinity of Morningside Park are your best bets. They're not that far from each other. You might just dig something up there. Thank you, D'Angelo. Those are solid leads. Ah, the final whiff of sincerity in your bullshit makes it almost charming. I know they're not quite the Glengarry leads you're after, but hey, on these nights, beggars can't be choosers. So is this intel gonna cost me the usual 2 blood bags? You keep me a stash, kiddo. Just clue me in on where Sansarec's hiding once you sniff him out. And we're square. His ugly mug suddenly goes serious. He straightens up and steps closer, eyeing both Patrick and me intensely. Last time I warned you that shit's gonna hit the fan soon. But that's old news already. It's way worse now. You can feel it, can't you? I nod almost instinctively, catching Patrick doing the same. I'm bailing earlier than planned, and I strongly advise you two to consider doing the same. I won't sugarcoat it. I could use a lift, and you could use some level-headed advice on the road. He looks genuinely terrified. Patrick and I slowly exchange looks before shaking our heads. I can't. Not just yet. Things are heated, I understand. But at the moment, Callie cannot leave, and I have been saddled with helping her in a way I can only describe as non-negotiable. D'Angelo sighs, slumping visibly, and waves his hand dismissively. In that case, just keep your eyes peeled for trouble, alright? Yeah, you too, pal. You too, D'Angelo, you too. Until next time, D'Angelo, hopefully under a brighter moon. We're almost at the door when I hear his response, barely louder than a breath. Bright nights are gone. Only nightmares remain. Man, ain't that the truth? I should write that down. Honestly, same. Honestly, same. But since I'm too lazy to write things down, maybe I'll just... Oh, looks like I can grab a screenshot, so I guess I will write that down. Because it does just send me over to Discord screenshot. So just where it should go to specifically in the corresponding channel. Like so. And done. Continuing. Patrick and I come to a stop in front of the perfectly serviceable vehicle. We should... Now, I already know the crap you're gonna dish out. No splitting up, Kali. I can fully trust you yet, Kali. But listen, it's late as hell already, so we gotta hustle. If we both go chasing Sansaric in the same spot and we're gonna catch all we're gonna catch is sunrise. We gotta divide and conquer. I concur. See, I knew you'd... Hold up, what do you mean you concur? A subtle smirk plays at the corner of his mouth before he reins it in. I agree that we have too much ground to cover, and since you kept your word and didn't flee last time, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt once more. I just stare at him, confused as hell before erupting into laughter. I don't recognize you, man. Where's the stick up the ass patty? Who's this loose cannon they replaced him with? Patrick twitches briefly. His smile disappearing without a trace and fingers crawling towards the ring don't slip my notice. He bounces back swiftly, though, and tucks his hands in his pockets. Let's part ways for now. Do you have a preferred destination? Oh, We do have a choice, either Morningside Park or St. Patrick's Episcopal Church. Or we take a quick detour over to Manhattan. Patrick's driving like he's gunning for his personal best. I'm not complaining, but he's been strangely careless. I mean, this is Mr. Proper we're talking about. What could possibly go wrong? I actually love rushing things. I'm pretty slick of handling stuff on the fly. Sure, things can go off the rails, but I've usually got a quick fix up my sleeve. Shit. But when someone else is calling the shots and things go south, it absolutely drives me up the wall. Hang on, we need to stop. That's always when accidents happen and mistakes are made. The kind of mess I have no fix for. The kind I really can't afford right now. For the love of... So, really, I'm more disappointed than surprised when suddenly there is a soft bang, and Patrick's perfectly serviceable vehicle starts wobbling and swerves hard to the right, sparks flying out from under a flat tire. No shit, Sherlock. I grin at him mockingly. Not so perfectly serviceable now, is it? Outrage flashes in his eyes. It's not the car's fault someone left nails on a godforsaken street. Besides, changing tires, it is a trivial matter, as... Yeah, so do you have a spare or what? Patrick shoots me a disappointed look. Of course I have a spare. It's only sensible when... Right. Of course, Mr. Perfection. Thank you, oh paragon of good sense. Sure. I don't know why I even asked. Alright, so, do what you gotta do. I'm gonna go stretch my legs a bit. Hold on, I don't think... Oh, but I do. See ya. And I'm off before he can start truly protesting. I know he won't leave his precious baby all broken down and vulnerable on the side of the road just to chase after me. Plus, he knows I'm not gonna bail. There's little point to it now, anyway. Now then, anything interesting to do around here? As it turns out, there is. Although I suppose that depends on your idea of interesting. There's some guy standing in front of a small crowd yelling and flailing his arms around. A performance? Sure, I'll bite. I creep closer to take a look. Save us all! All you've got to do is strategize, prep, and tackle our current reality with clear objectives in mind. And for that we have to look to the sky to survive. What, is he high or something? Technology is the future, plain and simple. Humans roaming the land? That's old news. That's all in the past already. As Aaron Fletcher put it. Jesus Christ, it's one of the Fletcher sycophants. No wonder every single one of his listeners looks like they're about to barf. Fletcher is not just a visionary. He is the embodiment of innovation. Where others see obstacles, he sees opportunities. Our society is starved for role models, for genuine heroes. The man's got a plan for tomorrow, for what we as the collective were about to face. It's hilarious how his zeal is having entirely the opposite effect, given how quickly the crowd is thinning. Fucking sheeple. You'll be digging shitholes with your bare hands when he launches us, the enlightened, into the new era. Fuck yeah, let's roll out the red carpet for an era of failed projects and a spectacular lack of common sense. Why do I get the feeling that Fletcher is a stand-in for Elon Musk? I see we arrived at the same conclusion. What? Who said that? I didn't really mean to say it out loud. But I'm kinda glad I did. I cross my arms, tilt my head confidently, and look the weirdo straight in the eye. There's almost nobody left, so I guess it must have been me. He scoffs dismissively. A female, of course. How fitting. Purple hair, too. Daddy didn't love you enough? Straight to daddy issues, huh? You know, big guy, my old man is quite generous. I could probably convince him to give you a hearty embrace. This whole thing you've got going on here, it's practically screaming for a big old chunk of Papa's attention. The words escape my mouth even before I manage to process them. A whisper of laughter travels through the crowd and the maniac grows red in the face. A fitting color, I'd say. Listen here, you little bitch. I came here to enlighten the blind masses to the genius of Aaron Fletcher, not to be disrespected by a... You didn't want to be disrespected, but you're out here all hot and sweaty, eagerly blowing Fletcher's trumpet. My guy, you're a real knob, if you know what I mean. Somebody in the crowd howls with laughter. All the blood in Fletcher's groupie rushes to his cheeks as he wheezes with outrage, eyes and veins bulging from his face. Shut the fuck up, you bitch! Wow, how super original. What's next? I'll kill you? I'll kill you! All brawn, no brains. I roll my eyes theatrically as he starts to elbow his way through the laughing crowd. Look, it's been a pleasure, but I'm sort of on the clock here. I'll fucking kill you! Asshole. Somebody should teach him a lesson. Piss off. Or yourself. I lock his eyes with him and stop him mid-step. Sticky tendrils of my presence seep out of my skin like fog, enveloping him tightly like a morning shroud and squeezing. You were saying? I... Well? He can't speak, eyes wide in panic and pupils the size of dinner plates. I approach him slowly until we're standing face to face, suffocating him even further. A little piece of advice, boy. If you threaten somebody, make sure you can back it up. Otherwise, it's just embarrassing. I glance down and see a steadily growing stain on his pants, trickling down into a small puddle on the ground. I smirk and I look up into his eyes. Or humiliating. Or both. I calmly walk away, cutting my presence off until the wacko crumbles wordlessly into the ground. The crowd, unperturbed, disperses, leaving the petulant man-child in a puddle of his own piss. Well, that was a productive half hour. Wonder if Patrick's done with the tire. When I finally return to the nearly perfectly serviceable vehicle, Patrick is so visibly annoyed that he is one straw away from stomping his foot. I know he's too well-mannered for that, but he crosses his arms and scowls at me. How nice of you to finally join me again. Oh, I bet you use that line on every girl you've forced to tail. He rolls his eyes, but I catch sight of a tiny, tiny smirk before he turns away. Come on, let's go. Clues await, I hope. That was a nice detour. Now then, Morningside Park or St. Patrick's Episcopal Church? Park, church. Considering Buravnos, I think Morningside Park is the better choice. The idea of finding Sansarik in Morningside Park seems sketchy as hell, but hey, at least it's a lead that we actually have. I hop out of Patrick's car at the edge of Morningside Park as he speeds off towards the church to search for signs of Sansarik. From this vantage point, there is nothing particularly poetic about the park. The absurd number of stairs scattered about could inspire some lines, though. But at the end of the night, a park is just a park, which really makes me wonder what the hell a group of radical kindred would be doing here in the first place. I don't know much about Sansarik, just the scraps I've picked up. He's the most powerful snake in New York, aka a Setite, aka the Ministry, as of late. Keeping the Ministry in a real iron grip. An aggressive, territorial asshole. No wonder Reynard had a sort of twisted respect for the guy. As for their dealings, I can't say much either, only that they were infrequent, costly, and involved stuff way beyond our regular inventory. After all, the snakes do deal with all sorts of sin. Specifically involve getting you to sin. Yeah, right, and I'm just a logistics gal my ass. No matter. I've got to comb through this entire park anyway, tree by tree, snowflake by snowflake. The search quickly turns into a boring slog. I miss the high-stakes cons I used to run with Reynard. I miss the sketchy deals in those creepy deserted parking lots. Hell, even blowing sand out of my nose at festivals was more thrilling than this endless sea of snow and trees. And guess what? Sansarik is definitely not here. No trace of him whatsoever. I'm about to throw in the towel and drag my ass back to the rendezvous point when the wind brings me the faint sound of a distant conversation to my ears. I turn around and quietly follow the noise. I spot them just a minute later. kindred snooping around, clearly on the lookout for something. And I really, really want to know what they're talking about. We'll use another point of blood. Be softer than snowflakes. The snow now crunches underfoot, a sure sign it's cold out. Not that I can feel it, but you pick up the clues over time. However, my footsteps will just not do. I concentrate, dampening the sounds around me, engulfing them in a blanket of silence, making my gait quieter than a whisper. Then I move. The snow gives under my weight, but noiselessly. I move cautiously, sticking close to the trees. Soon I'm close enough to overhear snippets of the conversation. Damn, I was really hoping we'd catch Sansaric here. Bet the asshole turn into a snake and hold up somewhere on the ground. Can the serpents even do that? I think they can. Fuck if I know. No sign of that raven trickster either. Think we should wrap it up? Let's give it another sweep before we head back. If we show up empty-handed, she'll personally throw us into the Hudson. More like she'll strip us for parts. Yep, definitely underlings of its industry. Not the subject I would... Wait, who's there? They both stepped their heads at me, and I instinctively stepped back. Whether they see me or not, they lunge forward. All I can do is flee into the labyrinth of trees, hoping that they haven't tagged me with some kind of tracker. It feels like forever, but just me and the wind howling, but I finally shake them off. I get to the meeting spot just as Patrick pulls over. I throw myself into the car, slamming the door behind me. Go! Just fucking drive! He slams on the gas. Within seconds, we're tearing through the streets, the city a blur. What happened? Did you run into trouble? Just a deadly chase through the fucking park. Ran into some kindred trying to track down Sansaric, spitting some crazy shit about the Hudson. They were after a raven trickster, too. Holy shit, you think they were talking about me? I finished rambling and took a look at Patrick. He's frowning, lips deadly tight, one hand white-knuckling the steering wheel, the other nervously spinning the dice ring. He's so lost in thought he doesn't respond, and I snap, a little surprised by my own irritation. Hey! Did he even hear me? Yes, sorry, I don't know. I'm just glad they did not catch you. He's so spaced out, I bet his thoughts aren't even on this hemisphere. I want to keep pestering him, but I realize he's driving with a purpose, and I have no idea where we're heading. What the hell is happening? Where are we going? His shoulders finally drop a bit. He loosens his grip on the steering wheel. I found some recently deceased hunters in the crypt of St. Patrick's. One of them had this note on her. I squinted the horrible handwriting. Some wild numbers, coordinates, most likely, then a description. Black, yellow eyes, highly aggressive, exercise extreme caution. Must be Tamika. Well, it certainly screams Sansaric, but what's the deal with these coordinates? They point to North Brother Island. It's in the East River, a fairly bleak spot, which fits the ministry to a T now that I think about it. That is where we're headed. Good, just get me the fuck out of here. Oh, brother. It might not seem like much, but with all the loose ends strewn around us, we're finally snagged a solid lead. North Brother Island is not the liveliest spot, but hey, it's totally the ministry's style, if you ask me. I used to be one of those kids who was always running around and stirring up some shit after school. Shocking, I know. One of the favorite pastimes of my gang of little rascals was exploring the ruins of the old Hill Hospital at night. Well, exploring might be a bit of a stretch. We never actually got inside, just dared each other to stare into the windows for as long as we could. Usually I was the last girl standing, but let me tell you, those hours after dusk in the fall, when every whisper of the wind, every rustle of the trees was multiplied by 100, they were torture. Now, I kind of miss those days. So when Patrick and I hit the wrecked pier of North Brother Island and see the derelict buildings nearby, I almost squeal with delight. Almost. The ambience is pretty much ruined by the shiny new RIBs moored along the pier. Some of them have clearly been used in the last few hours, judging by the mud and melted snow on the seats. Just to make sure we're on the same page, what exactly is your connection to Sansaric? Be fairly honest, Callie. So you know the deal on I deal on the, let's call it the darker side of the web, right? It has come up, yes. Well, Sansaric was technically Reynard's client, but I was the one handling all the sketchy stuff he requested. Never met the guy or anything. Everything always went through Reynard, but Sansaric is the only client I know by name. I see. You mentioned before that he and Castle had a relatively good relationship. How do you plan to exploit that? And I snort, half pissed that he knows me too damn well, half amused by the good relationship crap, since all it means is they didn't try to actively kill each other. I'm just about to break it down for him when suddenly we're cut off by gunshots. And they're getting closer. We duck down and observe as some guy comes tearing into the pier, screaming his lungs out in terror. He's running backwards, tripping over every bump while desperately trying to shoot at something in the trees, unaware that his clip has been empty for a while. He's decked out head to toe in urban warfare gear, reminiscent of the hunters I had the pleasure of meeting a few times already. He hasn't noticed us yet, blinded by his delirious fear. Perfect moment to strike. Let's do it ourselves. Or actually, this could be a feeding opportunity, just so that we are topped off, so to speak. My footsteps are silent on the compacted snow as I sneak up on the guy, whiter than a ghost. In a flash, I knock the gun from his trembling hands. Before he even knows what hit him, his scream is choked off by a soft, surprised moan, as my fangs sink into his corded neck. I'm not picky when it comes to feeding, but fuck me, he tastes vile. High on adrenaline, muscles already burning with lactic acid from his panicked run. It's a weird feeling, the bliss of satiation mixed with the disgusting taste of my meal. I drink enough and lay his body onto the ground, wiping his mouth off with a disgusted grimace. All done? I resist the urge to spit. Yeah, but shit, he was foul. You did look the type, yes. If those were Sansaric's ministers who pushed this poor bastard to the edge, I'm not exactly eager to meet him myself. Patrick nods, looking at the lifeless body. He makes no move to hide it, but so I don't bother either. We share a quick glance before sneaking cautiously through the thicket towards the ruins looming over the bare trees. We tread carefully through the bushes, mindful of the crunch of the snow underfoot. But let's be honest, the distant gunshots would have covered the sound of a stampede. Although the shooting has died down in the last couple of minutes, replaced by blood-curdling screams of torment. We stumble upon several corpses, and surprisingly, a decapitated skeleton with scraps of decomposing flesh still clinging to it. The murder of crows feasted on the scene couldn't care less. To them, carrion's carrion. It gives us both some pause. Those fuckers. The screams are almost drowning out the gunfire now, suggesting that the ministers might be getting the upper hand. Better them than the hunters. I just hope they don't mistake us for enemies and decide we deserve a similar fate. Great, Callie, you've got yourself right in the middle of a fucking war zone. The whole city feels like a battlefield these nights. It's just our luck that we arrived right in the time for the hostilities here. So, what's the plan? We could try sneaking past, hoping the hunters are too busy with the serpents to notice us. Or... Look, over there. There's a spot under the collapsed floor where we could hide out and wait for this to blow over. Patrick cocks his head, pondering, absent-mindedly twirling his ring, not in a panic this time, but more like using it to focus. Huh. Finally, he drops his hands and looks at me calmly. I say we do with whatever your daredevil instinct recommends. You sure you didn't hit your head on our way here? Positive. What do you think? Do we score some points with Sansaric, or do we just wait this thing out? I am honestly partial towards both points. And could go for either. Therefore, scoring points. Oh, right then, off we go. Well, let's kick some ass then. Maybe that'll score us a few points with Sanseric right off the bat. Patrick nods and follows me as I kick down the door and enter the ruined building, every sense heightened as my vitae surges in anticipation of a fight. The floor is a jigsaw of body parts. We could probably piece together a few whole bodies from the mess if you were so inclined, but I left my gluten gun at the RV. I walk over them carelessly, only half noticing the sickening crunch of bone under my boots. As we creep through the building, Patrick suddenly stops and flashes 3 fingers at me. I press myself against the wall, tuning into the hunters in the next room. Patrick slyly kicks a pebble to mimic footsteps. Fooled, 2 hunters burst out, shotguns at the ready, but with just a flick of his wrist, Patrick has one hunter gutting down the other. Confusion washes over the shooter's face just before I rip his throat out. The last one starts freaking out, blasting his assault rifle everywhere, trying to shoot us through the walls. I duck behind the door frame and sneak a quick glance. He's alone, terrified, and the crows cawing outside the window are not helping him one bit. But let's be real. In this horror show, we are the monsters. Double trouble style. Without looking at each other, Patrick and I lunge forward. He goes high, aiming for the gun, while I dive low and slam the elbow into the hunter's solar plexus, dropping him to his knees, then flattening him with a right hook to the temple. Before his trigger finger can even twitch, he's already lying on the ground, disarmed and confused. We both move in again, but this time our rhythm is off. Our syncopated moves clash as we both reach for the hunter's head with the same neck-snapping plan, and then the head just pops right off. The lips keep moving for a few seconds as if murmuring a prayer. We drop it immediately, look at each other in embarrassment, and take a step back from the headless corpse. The clamor we caused inevitably draws more trouble, as we turn to leave a bunch of hunters' fleets in, weapons at the ready. We go back to back and switch places, throwing them off balance, but before we can lunge, we hear a loud ting, and the hunter in front of the door looks like he's about to lose his head. And that's exactly what happens. His head is severed by a cut so clean that his body stands dumbly for a moment before crumpling onto the ground. Behind stands a group of serpents, all decked out in leathers and gold, scary as fuck. For a split second, the room goes deathly silent, and then all hell breaks loose. Patrick and I hardly need to intervene. The hunters and serpents clash with each other, gunshots echo, cries fill the air, and blood flows freely. It's all over in less than a minute, and the kindred, predictably, emerge victorious, leaving one last victim unscathed. The silence that follows is so oppressive that it almost buzzes in my ear. I start to think I've gone deaf, but I see Patrick checking his ears and I relax a little, relieved that I am not the only one so overwhelmed. The serpents don't move, don't speak, only look at us judgmentally, calculatingly. In this heavy silence, flipped only by the scent of blood, the sound of approaching footsteps echoes like thunder. The man who enters the room is barely my height, but he carries himself with the grandeur of a king, the ruthless ruler of his domain. Eli Sanseric, the most powerful snake himself. From the silence of his movements, it is instantly clear that his thunderous entrance was all for show, an intimidation, a warning. Magnanimously, he was giving the assailants a chance to flee in disgrace. Or letting them scatter for a more interesting hunt, more likely. Hell, I'm not sure why Patrick and I didn't just bolt. The last remaining hunter tries frantically to crawl away, but he collapses under Sanseric's steel-capped boot. That's when I realize why the serpent is walking so oddly. He's dragging a dead hunter impaled on the enormous claws protruding from his fingers. The body slides to the ground with a hollow thud. A kindred who seems to be his child, second in command, hands him a clean handkerchief which he uses to wipe the blood off his hands, and then he promptly flings it onto the corpse. Standing over the whimpering hunter, he surveys the mortal with sheer disdain, then tilts his head to make direct eye contact with me. Given that you've been smeared with the blood of the cattle, am I right to assume that you are not part of their pathetic assault? There is something to him, this Youth pastor intensity that prompts me to answer immediately and recklessly. Please, I've had enough bullshit from their crew already. No, we're siblings in arms here. Let us not get ahead of ourselves. I toss him a sour glance, making me look uncool in front of the battle pastor. Sansaric's gaze locks on me, unblinking. His posture rigid as a cobra's. His stare is so intense it almost makes me sweat. If I could sweat, that is, if it weren't so damn used to pressure. I try to appear relaxed and confident when he lets out a short, sharp whistle. Instantly, two of his serpents lift the last hunter, propping his slim body into a standing position, but Sansaric does not spare him a glance. His eyes are fixed on me. It's been a real annoyance, this one. Quite the rogue, wouldn't you say? Of course you would. Why don't you teach him a lesson? It's clearly not a real question, and the only acceptable response is a dutiful, yes, sir. Hmm. Oh, we did just eat, so let's go for something flashy. Love what you hate. The perpetually spinning cogs in my head to go into overdrive looking for a way to impress Sansaric. What do I know about him? He'd relish a show of power, that's for sure, but in what flavor? Cruel? Formidable? I'm running out of time. I feel my excitement rising like the tide, and the itch to do something dangerous and reckless returns with suffocating strength. I seize the whimpering immortal by the hair and plunge my fangs deep into his neck, letting my power surge through me and into his flesh during our unholy communion. I drink his blood, reveling in the way it temporarily quenches my hunger. But most of all, I make it feel good. Electrifying. Unparalleled. No, don't. This hunter won't last long without yearning for another kiss. Just like a man stranded in the desert would beg, maim, kill for a drop of water, he would do anything, everything to satisfy his overwhelming need for more. At least for a time. I detach myself from his neck and gently lower him to the ground, his eyes glazed and vacant. His hand trembles as it reaches for his throat, fingers tenderly brushing the bite mark with a mix of longing and astonishment. I step back, giving Sansaric a smug, expectant look. He gives a lot of amusement. Interesting idea, making a hunter addicted to what he hates as much as he fears it. I nod, thanking for what I guess is a compliment. Sansaric's snake-like eyes finally shift from me to that pathetic pile of crap on the ground that used to be a proud hunter. But it's not enough. He approaches the hunter slowly, lazily, and then with both hands lifts the mortal off the ground by the shoulders. I watch from the sidelines as Sansaric's bearing changes completely. Gone is the relentless intensity, the danger, the zeal. His eyes look soft and sweet when he locks them with the hunter's and murmurs something into his ears, gently as if soothing a frightened animal. I watch with increasing surprise as the hunter melts into Sansaric's arms and embraces him, sobbing into the crook of his neck and clawing desperately at his back, as if trying to draw him closer. It looks intimate, reverent, an encounter with the most beloved divine. Sansaric carefully pulls away, ignoring the hunter's clinging hands, and fishes out a hand grenade from the hunter's gear. Return to your patron. Make him see the error of his ways. The hunter immediately gets up, feet unsteady, and limps away through the door and into the cold darkness. His gait is awkward and clearly uncomfortable because he doesn't, not even for a second, avert his worshipful eyes from Sansaric's face. Come. He struts toward the pier, his entourage obediently in tow. And of course, we're dragged along too, thanks to an overly persistent serpent who thinks shoving us is somehow necessary. It's not like we have a choice, right? With no more distractions, the path seems way shorter than I remember. I can see one of those RABs bobbing on the East River in the distance. Must be that charmed hunter off to ruin his boss's night. Now, Sansa returns to Patrick and me, sizing us up with an icy glare, but even though his tone regains that frightening intensity from before, now there is a hint of benevolence. You have the misfortune of catching me in a nasty mood, I'm afraid. But if you provide an acceptable explanation for trespassing on my turf, I might as well let you go. Well, I flick a glance at Patrick and catch his subtle nod out of the corner of my eye. Name's Callie, and this here's, oh, I know who that is. The Baron's lapdog, the court's errand boy. I'm more interested in you. Gotta say, being in this kind of spotlight doesn't exactly boost my confidence. I, I'm Reynard Castle's child. I run with his coterie, and I know you've had business relations with him. I was actually the one who rushed the delivery of those trinkets you wanted. I didn't realize Sansoric's face could grow even more sour, but here we are. His lips curl down, he knits his eyebrows, and he glares at me like I just kicked his cat. But then, unexpectedly, he throws his head back and laughs. Loud, free, mocking laughter that makes me lose my cool. His laughter abruptly stops, and he's back to staring at me coldly, unblinkingly, perfectly poised. I haven't heard from good old Ray in months, child. Whatever you think you procured from me, it went to someone else's hands. He falls silent briefly, and then his serpent eyes narrow. Do you even know what exactly it was that you acquired for him? My silence is his answer. Not gonna lie, his words hit me hard, and I'm a little flustered. Reynard rarely deigned to share his plans with me, but it wasn't like he made a habit of lying straight to my face. Why would he hide it all from me specifically? As Sansaric makes yet another disparaging sound at me, Patrick clears his throat and shifts the set-eyed, scalding focus onto himself. Would you mind telling us about your last dealings with Castle? Any information could help. I roll my eyes at this stiff and obvious attempt at wheedling info out of Sansaric, but he only smirks, then sighs as if thinking about Reynard brought him great anguish. Which, admittedly, it might have. Nobody really thinks about Reynard unless they absolutely have to, and by that time it's usually too late. I don't mind, though I must say that Brad truly was insufferable, fixated on the antediluvians like a child obsessed with a new toy. I'm staring at him, totally lost. Antediluvians? That's a first. What did Reynard even want with the antediluvians? And why did he go asking the ministry? If, as if I read my mind, Sansaric tosses me a sharp look and continues. How he came to learn that my clan, me in particular, holds knowledge of our most ancient ancestors is a mystery to me. But seek me out he did, asking numerous questions about ancestry, power, and blood. I jump a little when he waves his hand dismissively after such a long period of standing still. Let me be perfectly clear. The history of Clan Ravnos was never of interest to me, and I had little desire to discuss it. Neither had Reynard, up until a few months ago. What prompted his interest in these topics? I haven't the slightest, but I'd bet the promise of profit was his primary motivation. What I will say, however, is that his focus on, how do you put it, business relations waned significantly. That's news to me as well. As far as I know, it was pretty much business as usual at all the fucking time. For the first time in our conversation, Sansaric's face twists into the picture of true savagery. No more pleasantness, exasperation, or hints of courtesy. Only anger, relentless, and feral. Reynard Castle has been slipping in his promises, O child of his. I am done graciously waiting for reparations. I sneak a look at Patrick and I see him nod at me encouragingly. So I collect all the broken and uncertain pieces of myself and put them back together again. You can do it, Callie. Be charming. Be careful. Be calm. Never make promises, even those you intend to keep. I get it, so let me speak plainly. Reynard's missing. Whether he's gone for good or just lying low, I can't say. No one's been able to reach him. I think he's out there somewhere, hiding, but he's off the radar. You've got your ear to the ground. Have you heard anything about Reynard in the last few nights? I have no interest in that brat in so much as the objects he swore to procure from me. And since now I'm aware he's had no hand in obtaining them, it is high time that I move on to greener pastures, don't you think? Especially since I know they intend to deliver, yes? Sansaric almost seems like he might lighten up with a wink, but no. His expression snaps back to his usual icy detachment as he leans forward slightly, his gaze as steady and chilling as a snake's. Reinhard Castle meddles with powers beyond his ken. I wouldn't be surprised if this sudden uptick in hunter activity was a link to his actions one way or another. I wait, hoping he'll elaborate on this strange and frankly insulting connection he's implying, but it seems he considers our discussion done. He straightens up and signals to his second-in-command, who quickly moves in to receive his whispered instructions. There is no such way this can be all we take away from such a critical meeting. I catch Patrick's eye and subtly move closer to him, ensuring our next words are shielded from any serpent ears. What's our next move? Sensor explodes about Radar 2. Your sire's messing with dangerous shit? Great, tell me something I don't know. What now? He hesitates briefly. Does it bother you? My castle has been undermining you and reneging commitments that involve your work. Yeah, kinda. And by kinda, I mean a hell of a lot. I know he's a bastard, and I'm no saint either. But we had this unspoken agreement that we're not gonna screw each other over, you know? I see. Shall we take our farewell then? Hold up. There's one more thing I need to ask. I back away from our little huddle and cuff to grab Sansoric's attention. He acknowledges me right away, but he takes his sweet time wrapping up his chat before shooting me an impatient look. Just one more thing before we scrap. The circulatory system seems to have a hit list and Reinhardt's sitting at the top. Any clue what's that about? Sansoric's eyes narrow in anger and contempt. Well, color me astonished. He was blabbing on and on about his latest illustrious benefactor who could help him circumvent the red market. He makes such a sour face that if we were still mortals, I'm sure he'd be spitting in disgust. Seems like he ended up on the bad side of that slumbering bitch in the Hudson. Frankly, good riddance with that. Something clicks in my mind as he speaks. That slumbering bitch on the Hudson. Didn't those lackeys in Morningside Park mention some pissed-off kindred ready to chuck them into the Hudson? I might have heard a rumor or two about the Hudson situation, but who do you mean exactly? My attention remains fixed on Sansaric, but I can't ignore the abrupt, frantic motion of Patrick violently spitting his damned ring. Sansaric gnashes his teeth and a low, seething murmur ripples through his followers. That Simis bitch, Vritra, or whatever the fuck her name is. You don't know her? Then count your blessings, child. See? Told you it was at Simis. What's her deal? Her deal is that she waltzes in like she owns the place and steals what's been rightfully ours for decades. Well, to be fair, back in the 90s, New York was Sabbat territory, up until Battle of New York changed that. And if you played Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, you got to participate directly in it. Simis did have a flesh cathedral somewhere down in the sewers. It's exactly as Simis as it sounds. His eyes blaze with a pure yellow light, fangs elongating as his jaw loosens in a furious scream. I swear I catch a glimpse of a forked tongue flickering back into his mouth as he calms down, regaining his usual captivating appearance. I add two and two together and realize this Vritra must have been the one who ousted the serpents from their turf in Harlem. I shoot a knowing glance at Patrick, but he's too fixated on that damn ring of his. So I decide to press Sansaric a bit harder. I wonder what kind of relationship Reinhard has with this Vritra. Do you think? I do not think about her, child of Reinhard, nor do I wish to start. My time is precious. We're done here. So much for pressing. Sansaric fully turns his back to me, conferring with some of his serpents. I strain my ears to hear their whispers, not even out of need to hear what they're saying, but more out of sheer curiosity, but Patrick gently tugs on my sleeve. I think our meeting has concluded. We should leave before Sansaric himself drives us off his turf. Yeah, we're leaving empty-handed, huh? Well, at least we confirmed that Sansaric has nothing to do with Castle's disappearance. Let's discuss strategy once we're gone from this place. I nod, clear my throat loudly, and speak without waiting for Sansaric to face me. Thanks for not throwing us out in our asses sooner, Sansaric, and for the info too. We'll get out of your hair now. I spit on my heel, but his stare holds me dead in my tracks. You should leave, silly child. Looking for that side of yours will yield nothing but death and ruin. And if your leaving means the brat digs himself deeper into his own shit, he gives me a smirk, the first one yet. Then I might be willing to lend a hand. I'm ready to snap at him, scream in his face that I don't need his damn pity, but then it hits me like a freight train. He's not offering help out of sympathy. He'd get off on watching Reynard suffer, no doubt about it, but then his offer? It's like this weird mix of prickly-ass kindness, something you hardly ever see in our kindred world. And it's that fucked up kindness alone that keeps my mouth shut. So instead, I give a silent nod and hook arms with Patrick as we dip out of that decrepit building into the frigid dead of night. Curiouser and curiouser. Connecting the dots. Reynard's exploits have me even more on edge than the carnage that happened at the island. I need to figure out my next move. Even I have heard some of the crazy legends that popped up around the ministry over the years. I don't give a shit if they can actually control the elements, but the second we bailed from that shithole in North Brother Island, a ruthless wind kicked up, shoving us right back to our boat. It was like Mother Nature screaming at us to get the hell out, to run, ditch this cursed dump before it sucked us dry. So yeah, we totally bailed. We zoomed across the East River and only chilled when that wicked wind finally took a break from breathing down our necks. That's when it dives into the icy Hudson, stirring up wild waves. As we are talking on this pier, the thunderous crash of the water drowns out our voices, and all fierce and intense, like it's slurping up our words and stashing them away. Let's recapitulate. First, Jessica Wainwright says Reynard Castle is now #1 on the circulatory system's hit list. Patrick isn't the type to make big gestures while he talks. He usually just spins his ring or shoves his hands deep in his pockets, but this time, he's putting on a bit of a show, ticking off imaginary bullet points on his fingers. Yeah, and I'm probably going down with him if I don't stop digging. Not like I've got much of a choice anyway. Correct. And second, Eli Sansaric swears he hasn't talked to Reynard's castle in months, and the items? Yeah, items sounds about right. Right. The items you arranged for Sansaric through Castle haven't shown up yet. Castle has also developed a rather intense, almost obsessive interest in the antediluvians, but his reasons and objectives are still a mystery. I just quietly nod along. Reynard Castle has been MIA for the past few nights, despite having meetings lined up. He goes quiet for a bit, spinning his ring like he's trying to tether his thoughts to something solid. In all honesty, none of this sounds promising. Not for finding him, and definitely not for his safety. He stops talking and just stares off into space, fiddling with his ring. What else is new? But there's another piece of intel we've dug up. And there's that Simishe from the Hudson. Tritra, was it? Sansaric mentioned she's after Reynard. Don't know much about her, just that she's got some sort of show on the Hudson. We should definitely look into her. The ring of his is spinning faster now, and I somehow sense that Patrick's about to piss me off with another load of bullshit. It hits me all of a sudden. He does that a lot, doesn't he? Spins that ring and then spouts nonsense or flips his stance. I'm not convinced that's the smartest approach. What solid proof do we actually have that ties her to Castle, aside from the rumblings of a disgruntled servant? There we go. None, but then again, we don't have much of anything solid, so we might as well chase up what leads we do have, right? That makes sense. He keeps spinning his ring, his expression smoothing out like he's trying to straighten his thoughts. However, I think it may be better to focus on our investigation on the circulatory system. Is this him being pragmatic, anxious, or maybe did he just spin the ring and let fate decide? Honestly, that feels way riskier than just chatting with the one kindred. I can't believe I'm the one who wants to play it safe. There's no way he lets sheer chance guide his actions, right? Not Mr. Cool and Collected. It's got to be something about Vritra herself. Is she really that intimidating? It always is with Simishen. You don't want to mess with them unless you want to end up a nice chair in their castle. Or a coffee table. Are you scared of her? Well, Sansara did imply that she single-handedly ousted his entire group out of Harlem. To be fair, he only suggested that she just does whatever she wants, and he's not a fan because she totally stepped on his toes. He turns away and spins his ring faster as yet another realization dawns on me. From what little I know, it's out of character from Patrick to be scared of someone he hasn't met. Careful with your wishes, after all. Your area is their ancestral stomping ground. Especially the old Simishin, who are well versed in Poldunic sorcery. Then again, if you ask for their protection, they will oblige. Hold on. Do you know her? Like, personally? I don't... Well, I've heard of her. Spin. Word travels fast, and she's been the talk of the town for some time now. She's quite the enigma. Spin. Spin. No one knows where she came from or why she chose New York, only that she invades territories and stands her ground decisively. Spin. And that unknown element is precisely what makes her a threat. Spin! I'm so tempted to rip that fucking ring off his finger and smash it to pieces. I shut my eyes and grit my teeth, trying to concentrate. I get it, you're being cautious, but I'm really not in a position to tiptoe around a potential lead. Maybe all the scary stories are just gossip and she's actually quite reasonable. Perhaps. But this is fact, not gossip. Many kindred who sought her out have never returned. But that's also true for both the Camarilla and Anarch turfs, where we've taken risks and gotten useful intel. I don't get why you're all weird about looking into Vritra, especially since you've never even met her. Or so you claim. He stops spinning his ring and grips it tightly, his knuckles turning a shade paler. The main difference between her and the Camarilla is that with the Ivory Tower, you can occasionally talk your way out of the deal. Negotiate like you did a couple of nights ago. With Vritra, the story has just one ending. You disappear. His explanation almost makes sense, but he won't even look at me as he speaks, just gazes off into nothing, fingers constantly dancing on his stupid ring. And while I get that everyone has their quirks, I'm not demented enough to think I don't have any, it's really starting to get on my fucking nerves. You know what? As much as it kills me to say it, you're right. This Vritra chick is way too dicey to just waltz up to. Let's stick to something more solid for now. Yes, exactly. He sounds so relieved, it almost makes me feel bad for what I'm about to do. Almost. But then he starts spinning that goddamn ring again. It's just that... this is killing me. I need to do something with my hands before I literally explode. A look of concern flickers across his face. Literally explode. Does it have something to do with your clan? Nah, it's just how I'm wired. Got a coin or something I can toss? Maybe a pebble? A button? He gives me a puzzled look, but dutifully digs into his pocket and hands me a coin. A quid, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks, so... Oh shit, looks like the serpents are having second thoughts about letting us walk. As he turns to look confused, I swiftly snag the coin and his cherished ring from his hand. Before he can turn back, I slip the ring on my finger and step back. Never mind, probably just my mind playing tricks. Hey, what's up with your ring? Up close, the ring is actually pretty intricate, even kind of beautiful. It's a dice spinner that mimics a D20 die. I give it a flick, it lands on a 1. I choose not to take that as an omen. A grave mistake, if you ask me. My ring? It... What? I lift my hand and give my fingers a little wave, flashing the double band. If he were mortal, Patrick would be the portrait of distress right now with his pupils shrinking to dots. He reaches out with a trembling hand. Give it back. Why the fuss? It's a cool piece and all, but seriously, what's the big deal? You don't understand. I really need it back, please. I stand my ground with my arms crossed, watching him falter. His body tenses as if to jump, then relaxes abruptly. His hands clench and unclench, and it's clear he's struggling to keep himself composed, almost on the verge of kneeling. I know he's been putting on a show these past few nights. He's a pro, and I get that. Game recognizes game. But right now, he looks so downright pathetic that I have to really remind myself that we're both just playing our parts here. Callie, I'm serious, please. It could turn really ugly really fast. Give it back, just give it back. He seemed to... Am I the bad guy here? This can't go on. I need to find out. I will if you tell me what the fucking problem is. Look at this from my angle, will you? I feel like I'm about to lose my head here, and if you're acting like it's fine to gamble with my existence, you get how messed up that sounds, right? It's not that what you think. Just, please, hand it over and then what? You'll just skirt around the issue. That's all you ever fucking do. He stays quiet, teeth clenched, shivering on the ground as if he's going through withdrawal. Who knows, maybe he is. You really don't think much of me, do you? Haven't I shown you I'm reliable enough? Come on, Patrick. Quit the game just this once and trust me. What's going on with you? I might be able to help, you know? I pry his hand away from the decaying plank that he nearly crushed, slip the ring onto his finger, and step back, just in case he decides to take a well-deserved swing at me. The reaction is instantaneous. I watch in silence as he curls it on himself, cradling his hand to his chest, his head bowed, shoulders heaving with sharp, near-mortal breaths. It takes a while for him to find his words. I wrestle with my impatience. Just stay cool. Wait. Right when I'm about to blurt out something stupid, he speaks. I do not leave important decisions to a die roll. Absolutely not. You're right. It would be monumentally foolish. He lifts his gaze from the ring and looks at me with a piercing clarity. I plop down next to him, nodding at him to go on. This ring? I consider it my lifeline. It keeps me from drowning in the relentless flood of voices inside my head. It does not shut them up entirely, but it dampens them, makes them manageable, subdued. Wait a minute. Is this why you've been so obsessed about inner voices? And the Duskborn, Sana? Yes, I'm searching for a more lasting solution, or for some clarity at least. Clarity on what? On what these voices actually represent. You don't know? I've known these voices as long as I can remember. I understand why they grew stronger after my embrace, but I also know they're not like what others experience. Speaking of, let's actually bump the music up for this one a little bit. There we go. You should hopefully hear it in a second. And if not, here we go over in that direction. Patrick, I'm so lost. What others are you talking about? He falls silent for a hot minute, the ring on his finger twitching incessantly. It's a truly irritating sight. I should probably look away before I'm tempted to yank it off again. I am Malkavian, Callie. The whole Kate effect is just a facade. See? Told you. Told you. Reading you like a book. Okay. And... His gaze, filled with suspicion, narrows on me. You don't seem terribly shocked. I mean, what are we if not the secrets we keep? Callie isn't even my real name, you know? Huh. What is it then? Slow down, Turbo. We're still unpacking your little masquerade here. What's up with that? Why the pretense, you mean? Yeah, that. I get the gist, but I want to know the deets. The deets are that Malkavians aren't exactly crowd favorites, particularly those among us with an uncanny insight into the future and no talent for concealing it. Wait, hold up. You're telling me that you can see the future? No, no, nothing so extravagant. I get feelings, hunches, occasional whispers offering me a glimpse of what might be. Sounds pretty nifty to me. Believe me, it's anything but. It's impossible to tell if these whispers are a boon or a bane. Wait, so your own voices are screwing with you? Yes. That's seriously messed up. No response. I take it that he agrees. So these whispers, did they tip you off when you saved those anarchs 2 years back? He seems surprised that I remember his little confession. In a way, I was lucky to guess right, and lucky that Torque cut me some slack for my erratic gift. I nod silently, piecing together our conversation in my head. Everything clicks into place except for one nagging question. But if you understand these voices and their origins, why bother dissecting them? I hear many voices, each of them distinct but also the same. It is difficult to explain. But among them is one that's elusive. It does not come from any known place and can't be quite, not even by my ring. I need to uncover its source and purpose. So it's nastier than the others. Not exactly, just enigmatic. And there's only one... He pauses, his fingers inching toward that cursed ring. Then he clearly abandons what he was going to say. Nobody seems to know a damn thing about it. I squint at him, suspicion tightening my features. You're holding out on me. Again. Of course I am, but I'm being open about it. It's impossible to share everything about oneself. I find it fascinating, don't you? No matter how transparent you try to be, there are always aspects of your life you keep to yourself, intentionally or not. The nuances of our situations, what a load of crap. I mentally check out for a bit, then I cut off his philosophical rambling. Call it, Gandalf, keep your secrets. Just remember, I'm not letting fate roll the die for me. We already have one reckless idiot in this team, and that's me. He seems stunned, but in the end tosses me a small but genuine smile. I thank you, truly. Had I known that you would be so understanding, I might have told you sooner. I apologize for misjudging you, Callie. Thank you for telling me, even if it was under duress. Right, yes. So, shall we go back to the important stuff? Hey, don't underestimate yourself. You matter too. For a split second, his face crumples like he might cry, so I clear my throat and look away. All this mushy crap is really cramping my style. They do care about one another now. So let's raise a toast to our new partners in crime. It's cold water, but it'll do. I gotta put on the kettle for tea. Maybe after the stream. So, Reynard, why is the circulatory system so obsessed with getting him out of the picture? I mean, there's the whole blood trade thing, sure, but why the sudden urgency? I'm guessing it's because they know something we don't. That's a reasonable hypothesis. Right? Every now and then I hit the nail on the head. Now, if the Camarilla hadn't swiped my laptop, I might have done some deep digging online with all my tech, but honestly, it probably wouldn't have made a damn difference. A behemoth like the circulatory system probably uses a sealed-off intranet for all their dirty laundry. If only I could hack into their database. But it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point. Hold that thought. Getting into the circulatory system's database might just be within our grasp. I squint at him. He's full of surprises tonight. Must be the bloodshed getting to him. Have you ever come across someone named Kaiser? The info broker? Reinhard warned me to steer clear of him. Sounds risky even for us. I know for a fact that in this continuity, he's afraid of maybe one person, and that person is Julius Sawinski. Risky indeed, but the rewards may be substantial. Kaiser is quite the figure here in New York, a veritable eminence Greece whose influence extends everywhere like a spider's web. There's little he does not know, even with a recent altercation with the La Sombra Primogen. See? What altercation? I asked, knowing fully what it is. I'm not privy to the particulars, only that it profoundly disturbed Kaiser. Oh, we nearly kicked his face in. We broke his leg. We messed him up. You've seen it. Huh, that Primogen sounds pretty cool. I should definitely not meet with them. I don't want no altercations. Golly, you're tugging on my heartstrings here. I doubt you have much say in whether the Primogen chooses to seek you out. Anyhow, if we want to operate under the Gamarilla's radar, Kaiser's our kindred. Yeah, but hooking up with someone like that? I mean, I'm not even planning to stick around New York much longer. Piling up debts while hunting for my sire sounds like a nightmare. That is fair. Well then, we don't have any other... Hold up. What about that Malkavian savant? Word in the street is she's pretty slick with intel. You know her, right? From clan to clan? Hope, 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 hope. The crowd wants hope. Ah, you mean Hope? The CEO of Double Spiral? Right, her. She's famous for her tech chops. Heard some chatter about her back in LA too. Well, she might not be the best fit for this job. Cracking open the database is one thing, getting her hands on it is another. But she's been a thorn in Kaiser's side lately, having steadily gained grounds in his area of influence. Maybe she's picked up some new tricks she hasn't unleashed yet. It's your call, Callie. This is about your sire, after all. Honestly, none of these options are exactly stellar, but beggars can't be choosers, right? Just a second. It do be like that sometimes. It do be like that. And by that, I of course mean... Well, you know what I mean. Now, of course, considering all of our past and present, of course, we're gonna be heading towards Hope. You and me both. Then let's touch the base with a tech whiz. Seems like a safer bet to me. She might be level with us. Alright, I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow night, just after sunset. Meet me at my haven as soon as possible. You'll find another place to crash tonight, I take it? He's learning. Neat. Yeah, but I'll be there. Pinky promise. He flashes me a knowing grin and nods. Then we go our separate ways, melting into the vanishing night. Kinda ironic, isn't it? The deeper I sink into this mess, the lighter I feel. Couple of feeding opportunities for the night, but it's my level of noise that I am more worried about. Let's see if his Oshimark has changed. Oshimark, I kill myself. What do we have here? Okay. Addison Payne, Ventral Primogen, Riesling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Five Boroughs Chantry, Caleb, Rookie Hunter, Doomsayer, Unhinged Ghoul, Eli Sensoric, the former High Priest of Harlan. Don't worry, we'll be closing up shop soon, as we finish this chapter. Fletcher Sycophant, Lifestyle Evangelist. And Vritra, the Hudson Autarchis, Tsimisei. Little is known about the Tsimisei bitch, as the serpent himself calls her, beyond her relentless claim over the Hudson River, which she took as her domain shortly after arriving in New York City a few months prior. Both her past in the old world and her present machinations, ever disruptive to the sects of New York, are shrouded in mystery, and nobody who ventured uninvited into the heart of her domain has ever returned to tell the tale. Let's see. The Unisphere or the Hunts Point Landing? Actually, I think we don't need to feed just yet, so wherever you go. Let's quickly do the math. Deadly sunlight plus my clan's particularities equals a new spot to keep me from getting dusted. I just hope it's better than the last one. But honestly, with the chaos that keeps unfolding, any hideout will do. The apartment I scored thanks to the signs of our crew, wonder who left it here, Reynard? Yes, is thankfully much better than the dump I had to crash in back in the Bronx. It's clean, spacious, and sunproof, so at least I won't try to fry to a crisp while daydreaming. Not exactly my cozy RV. Oh, right. 1 second. Should be good enough. Now there is no music because the sound is toned down, and yet sometimes it breaks through. It's clean, spacious, and sunproof, so at least I won't fire a crisp while daydreaming. Not exactly my cozy RV, but hey, in a couple of nights I could get used to it. If it weren't for the damn near certainty that I'll turn into a pile of ash come sunset, that is. Lying in the queen-sized bed, hands laid behind my head, waiting for sleep to hit, my mind can't help but spiral around the shitstorm of the past few nights. Turns out there's more I don't know about Reynard than I do about Patrick, and I've been Reynard's child for almost 2 freaking years. My embrace? Yeah, that's not a trip down memory lane I enjoy. Not just because it felt like getting ripped apart, but because it caught me off guard. I wasn't one of those poor sods whose entire existence revolved around becoming kindred, who slaved away as ghouls for decades, if not centuries, just for a chance at that one final kiss. To be honest, I had no desires or purpose back then, just drifting through life much like these nights, following impulses. Head up that city. No, scratch that, head to the other one. Swipe from that dude there. Scam that lady over there. Put on a show. Disappear. Live. I caught Reynard's eye at a music festival. I was really raking him in with slates of hand, hustling the clueless out of their money. Rich kids were everywhere, dripping with cash and confidence, making my job a damn breeze. In just one day, I made enough to cover my tickets 3 times over. It lasted until Reynard came along and decided to take me down a notch, exposing all my tricks, swindling me of my hard-earned money, humiliating me in front of my cash cows, and then had the nerve to promise me some bright, shiny future with his gang. I told him to go to hell, obviously. I'd had it with assholes and had zero interest in joining the gang. Cruising alone across the country suited me just fine, or so I thought. Been years since I convinced myself that solitude meant freedom. But soon enough, whether I liked it or not, I learned a whole new meanings of freedom, one that went away beyond just being lonely. Because that very same night, Reynard spotted me in the crowd and decided to embrace me right under everyone's noses. No one ever batted a freaking eye as he hauled my dying ass out of that festival. Man, I'm in a rotten mood today, ain't I? Gotta remind myself it's not all that bad. Those last 2 years with Reynard, Scotery, were better than a chunk of my life. Turns out being part of a tight-knit group, a found family he calls it, can be pretty damn sweet. Not so much when the leader turns out to be a lying, dodging snake, though. That's a recent bombshell, what with that merchandise not reaching the buyer, the sudden antediluvian obsession, and being at the very top of the circulatory system hit list. God damn it, Reynard Castle, what if the hell did you get yourself into? Meanwhile... Slow night, boss? Kadir is still angry with her, huh? He clearly detests it when I call him that, but I keep tossing it his way every now and then. Who knows, maybe it'll rekindle some of that old buddy vibe we lost along the way. Not that I'm dying for it, it's just he turns into a total snorefest once he flips on the professional switch. Handling the Callahan case the way I did, I knew it wouldn't exactly endear me to him. Turns out it might have cut him deeper than I ever thought it would. How many this time? Another two, a Duskborn and one of Aisling's fledglings. The way they were found, their last moments were far from pleasant, to say the least. This is absurd. We're sequestered here like a bunch of idiots, struggling to find common ground, pretending we have this mess handled. We can't let this continue, you know that. We have to crush this mob, snap their pitchforks, and smother their torches before everything spirals out of control. I mean, you're the sheriff. In my book, that's your shot to call. You've got plenty of backup in there. Honestly, I don't know what's holding you back. That's the fundamental difference between us. Unlike you, I still have a modicum of respect for the rules, even when they bind my hands to the choices of fools. Language. Yikes, there's that fiery gaze again. I need to work on my timing. And he needs to sort out his anger issues. Do you mind if I intrude on this delightful conversation? Jesus! I hate when she pulls that Cheshire cat shit, popping out of thin air like that. What is it, Valerie? We might have identified the mastermind behind your locust swarm, as you so aptly put it. A mere glimpse of the file she hands Kadir has me reeling. Him? Seriously? Positive. But then, piecing things together, it makes perfect sense. The locusts would only rally under a supremely charismatic asshole. Are they finally taking down Arturo? And there is no asshole quite as magnetic as Aaron Fletcher. Unfortunately, but what are we gonna do? Now, any new entries? Glad D'Angelo clued us on where to look for Sansaric. The Anarch intel dried up, so now the Serpent is our best lead to find Reynard since they have some sort of a past. Maybe I was too harsh in little Chandler's usefulness after all. I searched Morningside Park and found nothing but some shady assholes. Better not to mess with them while I'm on the clock. Luckily, Patrick found a coded note at the church matching Sansaric's description. Supposedly, he's holed up on North Brother Island. We walked right into a brutal skirmish between the Ministry and the hunters on the island, so Sansaric didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. Although fed up with Reynard, he reminisced about antediluvians, some kindred named Vritra, and an uptick in the hunter's activity, all of which somehow ties back to my sire. The night wrapped up with a little to no solid answers, except for Patrick's dropping the bomb about his Malkavian nature. Pretty huge, huh? What's done is done, though. Now we need to decide what to do about the circulatory system issue. My hideout got an upgrade this time, and at least a star, if not more. It sort of clashes with my gloomy thoughts about everything wrong with this unlife. Me, my coterie, and Brainard, of course. Still stuck at Caitiff, but we know he's a Malkavian. Now, with that, we can call it the night, both in here and for the stream. December 2024, 4 nights till New Year. This will have to wait until next week. Therefore, I would like to thank you all for coming. And I will see you all tomorrow, where we go to, as I mentioned, Shadowrun on Card. Until next time, see ya.